Chapter 12:11. Probing 1. Am not your mother, go away. Get away from me. The middle-aged man bellowed in shock, his face completely red. He used all his strength to push away the second elder, who was gripping his clothes, but he accidentally overused his strength and pushed the second elder to the ground. However, the second elder of the Yao family was like a cockroach that couldn't be killed. After getting up from the ground, he unwillingly ran to the middle-aged man and cried out with an aggrieved face. Mom, don't ignore me. I'm wrong. I'm not your mother. Get away from me. The middle-aged man couldn't take it anymore and shouted, Mother! The second elder of the Yao family had an aggrieved look on his face. His eyes were still filled with tears as he looked pitifully at the middle-aged man. His appearance was truly as pitiful as it could be. Go away. You're not allowed to call me mother. The middle-aged man was furious, but he didn't dare to do anything to this crazy second elder. But you're my mother. The second elder of the Yao family mumbled softly, his eyes occasionally stealing glances at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man felt like he was about to go crazy, but he couldn't do anything about the second elder of the Yao family who had identified him as his mother. He looked at the others with pleading eyes, but no one was willing to help him out of this situation. Actually, it wasn't that everyone didn't want to help him, but that they couldn't help him, because right now, everyone was basically struck by lightning, and the sky was rumbling with thunder. That was the only thought in everyone's mind. Moreover, they didn't know how to help. The second elder of the Yao family was clearly acting like a baby who hadn't been weaned yet. Judging from his behavior, he seemed to be certain that the middle-aged man was his mother. They couldn't possibly forcefully separate the mother and son, right? Miss, do you think he's really crazy or is he faking it? After seeing this scene, Feng Die's forehead was full of black lines, and he couldn't help but ask. If you think he's really crazy, then he's really crazy. If you think he's pretending, then he's not. Lung Ruoxua said in a tongue-twister-like manner. Miss, words are getting more and more profound. Feng De said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. It looks like things are getting more and more lively. Lung Ruoxua said with a smile. She had really underestimated the second elder of the Yao family. She didn't expect him to be able to do this. In fact, she knew very well that the second elder of the Yao family had not gone mad at all. He had only played the fool in order to survive. Otherwise, the second elder of the Yao family was afraid that they would come up with some way to torture him. But one thing was for sure, the first thing the second elder of the Yao family would do when he returned to the Yao family was to get rid of these people from the affiliated families, and then take revenge on them. Should she really let the tiger return to the mountain? Forget it. Let's see the performance of the Yao family's second elder first. Lung Ruoxua thought to herself. Miss, you're keeping us in suspense too. Feng De couldn't help but complain. Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. Then what about your own judgment? Lung Ruoxua asked with a smile. I think this old man is definitely pretending to be crazy. We gave him so much medicine just now, but he would rather pretend to be dead than wake up. How could he really be crazy? Feng De analyzed. That old man's will was firm, and he had a strong heart. It was impossible for him to go crazy over such a small blow. We just need to watch the show. Lung Ruoxua laughed evilly. Since this old man liked to play the fool, if she didn't cooperate with him, she would be letting down this old man's acting skills. Thinking of this, she turned around and whispered a few words to Feng De. After that, Feng De turned around and left. When Feng De came back, there was a piece of raw meat in his hand. The meat was still dripping with blood and looked very fresh. Feng De walked up to the second elder of the Yao family and looked at him with a kind expression. He even patted his head as if he was petting a puppy, then said, Little Yao Yao, don't pester your mom. Aren't you hungry? Uncle has a piece of meat here, you should eat it quickly. Don't starve yourself, or Uncle will be heartbroken. When the people present heard Feng Die's words, the corners of their mouths could not help but twitch, and black lines appeared on their foreheads. They all thought in unison, this guy is too bad. He actually took a piece of raw meat covered in blood, and let the second elder eat it. He even called her little Yao Yao and considered himself uncle. He was too shameless. However, they didn't dare to say this out loud and could only think about it in their hearts. When the second elder of the Yao family, who was playing the fool, heard Feng Die's words and looked at the piece of raw meat in his hand, he resisted the urge to vomit. His brows furrowed even more imperceptibly, and his mind quickly turned. In the end, he had no choice but to reach out and take the piece of meat that was still dripping with blood. Even though he really didn't want to take it, he was afraid that if he refused, Lung Ruoxue and the others would find out that he was pretending to be crazy. This was because he was very clear that if he didn't want to die now, the other party would most likely not let him off. He still wanted to keep his life and return to the Yao family. Therefore, no matter how disgusting it was, he had no choice but to swallow this piece of meat. That piece of meat was very fat and looked very greasy. Although the Yao family's second elder had made up his mind to eat it, he couldn't bring himself to eat it. His heart was in a dilemma. Little Yao Yao, why are you not eating? Weren't you hungry? Hurry up and eat. This big piece is enough for you to eat. Don't be afraid. No one will fight with you for it. Feng smiled as he consoled her, but he almost laughed in his heart. The young miss was really too evil. She actually wanted the second elder of the Yao family to eat raw meat. Not only did the meat look bloody, but it was also very fat. Just looking at it made people feel disgusted, not to mention eating it. After hearing Feng Die's words, the second elder steeled his heart and stuffed the bloodied meat into his mouth. The meat was smooth and greasy, and the tendrils were thick with a faint fishy smell. In addition, his front teeth had been knocked out by Feng De, so he could not break the meat after biting it several times. Instead, the feeling of wanting to vomit kept surging up his throat. Little Yao Yao, uncle was wrong. I shouldn't have given you such a big piece of meat. You don't have teeth. Come, uncle will cut it into small pieces for you. Feng De watched the battle between the second elder of the Yao family and the piece of meat, and laughed to himself. However, he put on an expression as if he had done something wrong. Then he snatched the piece of raw meat from the second elder's mouth, and took out a knife from his storage ring. Shwa. Whoosh. In a few moments, the meat was cut into small pieces. The fat and thin parts were evenly distributed. After cutting, he carried the meat on a huge leaf and returned it to the Yao family's second elder. Chapter 12:12. Test 2. The second elder of the Yao family looked at the piece of meat in his hand, and felt like crying. In order not to let Lung Ruoxue and the rest notice anything amiss, he had no choice but to swallow the things he had vomited. Then he picked up a small piece of meat and put it in his mouth. He swallowed it without even chewing. After a long time, Feng De was full of admiration when he saw that the second elder of the Yao family had finished all the meat. Then he took out a piece of meat from his ring and cut it into small pieces. He handed it to the second elder and said with a smile, "Come little Yao Yao, eat more. You're still growing, so don't starve yourself." "Uncle, I'm full," the Yao family's second elder said as he tried to hold back his nausea. He really didn't want to eat anymore, and he couldn't eat anymore. Otherwise, he would be exposed. Moreover, the meat Feng De took out this time was even fatter than the previous one. Damn it, wasn't he deliberately messing with him? Actually, he had guessed correctly. The reason why Lung Ruoxue had Feng De do this was to prank him. She wanted to see how much this second elder of the Yao family could endure in order to play the fool. Furthermore, this was only the beginning. Little Yao Yao, kids can't lie. You're obviously not full. How can you lie to uncle? Don't you guys agree? Feng De said disapprovingly, then asked the others. Yup. Little Yao Yao, hurry up and eat. Chi Rui said cooperatively, but he was already laughing in his heart. This second elder of the Yao family was truly too pitiful. Did he think that he could escape just because he was crazy? Based on his understanding of Lung Ruoxue and the rest, he knew that it was impossible. They would not let him off so easily. Little Yao Yao, hurry up and eat. Look at how well this uncle is treating you and how much he cares about you. Yup. Little Yao Yao. A child can't disobey an adult's words. Just eat when I tell you to. Under the pressure, everyone had no choice but to speak up to persuade him. Their words made the Yao family's second elder secretly hate them. And he secretly memorized the people who spoke. I'll let you be proud for a while, but you'll regret it later. Little Yao Yao, Look at all the uncles and aunties who are so concerned about you. You can't let down our good intentions. Fengde reminded him with a smile. Oh, yes, the Yao family's second elder responded softly. He then unwillingly picked up the meat and began to stuff it into his mouth. However, when he endured the disgust and finished the meat, he realized that Fengde had taken out another piece of meat. He did not even think and pretended to faint. Little Yao Yao, what's wrong with you? Fengde was greatly alarmed and kicked the Yao family's second elder with a concerned expression. Miss, he fainted again. Get the medicine. Fengde said nervously when he saw that the second elder of the Yao family had no reaction. The Yao family's second elder probably fainted from hunger. You just have to feed him more. Lung Ruoxue reminded. Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. Oh right. How could I have forgotten about this? Fengde patted his forehead as if he had suddenly realized something. Then he lowered his body and brought the meat to the mouth of the Yao family's second elder, coaxing. Little Yao Yao, Uncle knows you're hungry. Hurry up and get up to eat. If you don't get up, Uncle will throw you into the forest to feed the wolves. When everyone heard Fengde's words, cold sweat trickled down their foreheads, and they secretly cursed him. This person was really too bad. He wanted to wake up the second elder of the Yao family to eat, and even threatened him. However, they were more curious whether the second elder of the Yao family would really wake up. After a long while, Fengde saw that the second elder of the Yao family was still pretending to be unconscious, so he directly instructed Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, bring a wolf over. All right. Lin Yuan replied with a bitter smile. The captain asked him to lead a wolf, but he didn't have any wolf-type beasts, so where was he supposed to lead one? He was in a difficult position. After thinking for a while, he suddenly had an idea. He turned around and ran into the forest. An hour later, he returned, and beside him was a pitch-black, enormous wolf. That wolf's eyes were deep and fierce, and with one look, one could tell that it was a very bloodthirsty beast. Big Black, eat him. Lin Yuan pointed at the Yao family's second elder who was still lying on the ground. Master, can I really eat him? The giant black wolf said with uncertainty. Of course. Lin Yuan nodded his head. After the giant black wolf received an affirmative answer, it strode to the side of the Yao family's second elder and sniffed. Then it said with a look of disgust, Master, this person is too stinky. Can I not eat him? Big Black. He was a high-level deity. If you eat it, you might be able to advance. Lin Yuan reminded. I know, but I really don't want to eat him. Although I'm a wolf, we wolves also have taste. We don't just stuff everything into our mouths. The black wolf said seriously. To the second elder of the Yao family, who was pretending to be unconscious, its words were like sarcasm. He was worse than a wolf, and he would put anything into his mouth. When the people present heard the black wolf's words, they glanced at the second elder of the Yao family who was lying on the ground, and didn't know what to say. As the second elder of the Yao family, he would never have thought that he would be looked down upon by a wolf, right? Other than expressing sympathy for the second elder of the Yao family, they had no other thoughts. Then what should we do? We can't let it go to waste. Lin Yuan said with some difficulty. Master, I know a giant python in the forest. That guy is very tasteless and will eat anything. Why don't you let it eat this man? The giant black wolf suggested. Captain, what do you think? Lin Yuan asked for Fengde's opinion. That's fine too. Fengde frowned and laughed in his heart. The Yao family's second elder was actually despised by the wolves. He really didn't know where Lin Yuan had found this wolf. It was quite interesting. Big Black, then go quickly and come back quickly. Seeing that Fengde had agreed, Lin Yuan said to the giant black wolf. Yes. The black wolf nodded and disappeared like a black lightning. Not long after, the giant black wolf returned with a squirming gray python. The python was nearly 100 meters long and as thick as a water tank. It had a pair of light bulb-sized gray-black eyes that were looking at the people in front of it with vigilance. Chapter 12-13 Test 3, Master, I'm back. The giant black wolf said. Big Black, this is your friend. Lin Yuan said in understanding. Yes, Master can call him Big Gray. The giant black wolf grinned. Lin Yuan was a little speechless. The names of these beasts were really simple enough. They actually differentiated them by color, hee. I wonder what they're called when they're in the same color? Hello, Big Blacksmaster. The gray python said politely. Hello, are you interested in that person? Lin Yuan pointed at the Yao family's second elder on the ground and asked. After hearing Lin Yuan's words, the gray python slowly came to the side of the Yao family's second elder. After carefully observing him, it finally came to an important conclusion. This person's body stinks. How long have you not showered? I don't know. Big Gray, right? Take a look and see if this thing is edible. Fonda said with a smile. Since the Yao family's second elder liked to play dead so much, then he couldn't be blamed. Yes, I can eat it, but I hate people who are stinky. The gray python's face was filled with dissatisfaction. There's no other way. Just make do with it. Fonda said helplessly. All right. The gray python unwillingly nodded and opened its mouth, but it did not bite down. The saliva in its mouth dripped from the corner of its mouth onto the second elder's body. In the blink of an eye, the second elder was completely drenched. The gray python's breath was extremely heavy, and it emitted a strong stench. Its saliva, in particular, smelled even worse. The second elder of the Yao family, who was pretending to be unconscious, could only hold his breath, not even daring to breathe loudly. At this moment, the python's thick tail swept across his body again, causing him to lose all the breath he had held in with great difficulty, and the unpleasant smell directly entered his nose. The stench made it impossible for him to continue pretending. However, just as he was about to get up, he found that the huge gray python's bloody mouth was right at his head, and its saliva happened to drip into his mouth. Cough, cough. The second elder of the Yao family coughed nonstop. He pushed the giant python's head away, flipped over, and jumped up. Then he vomited. Little Yao Yao is finally awake, sigh. Uncle spent a lot of effort to wake you up. Fonda couldn't help but grumble, and then he said to the gray python in embarrassment. Big Gray, I'm sorry. I thought he was dead, so I wanted to give you food. Now that he's awake, I can't let you eat him. Reading on Mybos Novelcom, please. It doesn't matter. If he dies again, you can just give him to me to eat. The gray python said indifferently, then obediently crawled to the side and stayed there. Little Yao Yao, did you hear that? If you die again, I'll have to feed you to this python. Fonda said with a smirk. Come. It was better to obediently eat this meat. Uncle won't allow you to waste it. Fonda said. Uncle is the best. The Yao family's second elder gritted his teeth, his heart filled with hatred for Fonda. However, he had no choice but to swallow his pride. Who asked him to pretend to be crazy? This time, he had really shot himself in the foot. Be good. Fonda personally watched as the second elder of the Yao family ate the raw meat again. Then he took out a cup of water and passed it to him. Come, drink some water. Don't swallow it. Fonda asked with concern. The Yao family's second elder took the water, raised his head, and poured it all into his mouth. However, after he swallowed it, he realized that it was not water at all, but wine, and wine with a very high alcohol content. As soon as the wine entered his stomach, he felt as if his stomach was on fire. Furthermore, he felt like he wanted to relieve himself. What the hell was this wine for him? Wasn't she trying to take his life? He couldn't wait to find a place to relieve himself, but before he could do so, he was stopped by Fonda. Little Yao Yao. Where do you want to go? Don't run around. There are many wild beasts in the forest, and they will eat you. Fonda said with a smile. I want to relieve myself. The second elder of the Yao family shouted loudly. At this time, he no longer cared if they would find out that he was pretending to be crazy. He only wanted to find a place to solve his own problem. We can't relieve ourselves here. Let Big Gray take you somewhere else. Fonda gave Big Gray beside him a look, and Big Gray quickly crawled over. Then it used its tail to wrap around the Yao family's second elder, and with a whoosh they disappeared. When night fell, Big Gray and the Yao family's second elder still hadn't returned. Everyone present couldn't help but secretly guess that the Yao family's second elder couldn't have secretly sneaked away. However, just as they were letting their thoughts run wild, They noticed that the gray python was slowly crawling back with the second elder of the Yao family wrapped in its arms. In front of the crowd, the gray python threw the second elder to the ground with a look of disgust. The second elder's face was frighteningly pale, and his body was extremely weak. He had been lying on the ground ever since he was thrown. When everyone saw this situation, their gossiping hearts were all hooked. Hee. The Yao family's second elder looked as if he had been ravaged by some beast. Don't let your thoughts run wild. I didn't do anything to him. He was the one who pulled for too long and was exhausted. The gray python could not help but defend itself when it saw the strange gazes of the people in front of it. Everyone didn't expect that their thoughts would be seen through by a beastie, and they were all a little embarrassed. Big Gray, where did you take him? What took you so long? Fonda asked curiously. I brought him out of the forest to relieve himself outside of Linjiang City. The gray python explained. How could it let a human relieve himself in the forest? That would be too unhygienic. You're really smart. Fonda agreed. The road outside Linjiang City was the only path the Yao family had to take. It was convenient to take the road there, and it would also give the second elder of the Yao family an unforgettable memory. Hee. You're flattering me, but when he was relieving himself, he was surrounded by many people. The gray python said. This is really none of my business. I didn't know that there would be so many people there today. Usually there aren't many people walking around there. The gray python explained with a wronged expression. Chapter 12-14, Test 4. It doesn't matter. It's okay, little Yao Yao won't mind and won't blame you. You're just being kind. Fonda saw the gray python feeling guilty and quickly comforted it. Don't know my ass. The Yao family's second elder, who was lying on the ground, cursed in his heart. At this moment, another damn gray python had appeared on his list of targets to kill. Fuck, he didn't know if this damn snake was in cahoots with Fonda and the others. Why did they have to mess with him together? He felt extremely unbalanced. In fact, he had really wronged the gray python. It was purely an accident that the gray python had taken him to the road leading to Linjiang City. At first, the gray python only wanted to take the second elder out of the forest. However, it remembered that the cities near the forest had already belonged to Big Black's master, so it naturally couldn't let the second elder relieve himself in Linjiang City. Therefore, it walked further and further away until it was far away from Linjiang City, before it let the second elder down. At that time, the second elder of the Yao family couldn't hold it in any longer. He didn't even have time to see where he was and immediately took off his pants to relieve himself. As a result, while he was relieving himself, there were always people passing by on the road from time to time. Therefore, his indecent behavior was seen by people, and there were even people who knew him. Oh, after all, the second elder of the Yao family was a well-known figure on the divine mainland. Now he had lost all his face. Therefore, he hated the giant gray python as well. Really? The gray python's eyes were filled with tears as it carefully asked. Yes, little Yao Yao, you won't blame it, right? Fonda asked as he bent down and looked at the second elder of the Yao family who was lying on the ground. Yes. The second elder of the Yao family suppressed his anger and unwillingly nodded. Little Yao Yao is so obedient. Fonda patted the head of the second elder of the Yao family and praised him. The second elder of the Yao family closed his eyes in anger, not willing to speak. At this moment, Wuxia, who had seen enough of the commotion, smiled faintly at the members of the Yao family's subsidiary family and said, All right, since little Yao Yao has returned, you can take her away. The members of the Yao family's subsidiary families looked at each other, their eyes filled with unwillingness. What's wrong? Are you all afraid of a lunatic? Wuxia said with a look of disdain. After a round of probing, she was deeply impressed by the patience of the Yao family's second elder. However, this way, she wouldn't be able to let him return to the Yao family in peace. The best way was to let them fight each other. She would hand over the feigned madness of the Yao family's second elder to the other affiliated families. As for how they would treat him or how he would deal with them, that was not within her scope of concern. The members of the Yao family's affiliated families were hesitant. In fact, they weren't afraid, But they didn't want the second elder of the Yao family to return to the Yao family. Otherwise, they would be the first ones to suffer. However, they couldn't say this too bluntly. Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. You guys what? Don't be afraid, he's just a lunatic. No one will believe his words. Lung Ruoxue consoled. You can leave the mountain now. Remember what I said. You can come to the outer part of the forest, but you are not allowed to enter the forest and these 3 mountains without my permission. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Lung Ruoxue warned again. Don't worry, Miss Lung. We know what to do. The moment Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, some forces immediately expressed their intentions to please her. After that, the other forces also followed suit. After seeing the fate of the Yao family, they didn't dare to not cooperate. After that, other than the Ning family and Qi family's teams, all the other forces left the Nightmare Forest dejectedly. The second elder of the Yao family was carried away by the people of the Yao family's subsidiary families. Young Lady Lung, aren't you afraid of bringing trouble to yourself by letting the Yao family's second elder leave like this? Qi Rui couldn't help but ask as he watched the forces leave. In his opinion, the second elder of the Yao family shouldn't have let him go at all. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble. Someone will take care of him for me. Since that's the case, there's no need for me to personally take action. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Lung Ruoxue didn't think that the second elder of the Yao family would still be alive on his way back to the Yao family. So, even if she didn't kill him, those people who wanted to hit him when he was down wouldn't let him off. Since that was the case, why did she have to do something unnecessary? If the second elder of the Yao family really met with an accident on the road, then all the major forces would naturally become her accomplices in dealing with the Yao family. In this way, no one would dare to disclose what had happened here, unless they didn't want to live anymore. Because the Yao family would never let go of those who betrayed them. She believed that those major forces were not fools and would know what was the best choice for them. Qi Rui was speechless. It seemed like Lung Ruoxue had a backup plan. No wonder he wasn't worried about letting the tiger return to the mountain. So, when would he be able to be as calm as Lung Ruoxue? Alright, don't think so much. The second elder of the Yao family can't possibly return to the Yao family alive. And even if the Yao family wants to avenge their dead clansmen, it'll be very difficult to find an enemy. Lung Ruoxue replied with absolute certainty. As for how the Yao family's subsidiary families would tell their master about this, that was not within her scope of consideration. Then I'm relieved. Qi Rui sighed and said helplessly. It seemed that this was the difference between people. Well, you don't have to be so sad, let's go. Come with me to take a look at our new home. Lung Ruoxue looked at Qi Rui's depressed expression and couldn't help but laugh. All right, he said. Qi Rui nodded. Following that, the Qi family and the Ning family followed Lung Ruoxue, and the rest into the Lung family's main residence. After taking a look around, Ning Fei and Qi Rui were full of admiration for the layout of the house. They were even a little envious, because in their eyes, Lung Ruoxue and the others really knew how to enjoy life. Not only was the spiritual qi in the house surprisingly rich, but it was also warm in winter and cool in summer. The scenery was beautiful, which was absolutely refreshing. Chapter 12-15. Entering the Inner Forest 1. Miss Lung, why do you want to build a territory in the Nightmare Forest? Qi Rui asked curiously. In his opinion, this forest was full of danger, and was definitely not a good place to be a territory. This place is not bad. With mountains and water, it'll be easy to gain experience. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. However, there are many poisonous bees, scorpions, and giant spiders in the forest. Qi Rui couldn't help but remind him. The poisonous insects they had encountered in the forest not long ago were still fresh in his memory. Although he didn't know where those poisonous insects suddenly appeared, and then disappeared without a trace, the sense of danger in the forest had been deeply rooted in his heart. So, if it were him, he would definitely not choose this place as his territory. Otherwise, those poisonous insects would come and harass him from time to time. No one would be able to stand it. The poisonous insects in the forest will not attack people, unless they are provoked. Lung Ruoxua laughed evilly and added in her heart, with the exception of certain people. Could it be that they were attacked before, because someone provoked those poisonous insects? Chi Rui said with a puzzled expression. This matter was so strange that he couldn't understand it no matter how much he thought about it. Why did those poisonous insects attack so many forces but not the Qi and Ning families? It's very possible. Oh, I've arranged a place for you to stay. You can stay here for a few days before going back. Lung Ruoxua changed the topic. All right, he said. Ning Fei and Chi Rui nodded in agreement. Then, Lung Ruoxua arranged for Feng De to take them to their respective residences. However, Ning Fei stayed where he was and looked at her as if he wanted to say something. Master Ning, is there anything else you need? Lung Ruoxua pretended to be confused, but she was laughing in her heart. This Ning Fei is acting reserved too, hee. It was a weird feeling to see a grown man acting all coy in front of her. Miss Lung, I would like to meet the old ancestor. Ning Fei mustered up his courage and said. He knew that his request was a little abrupt. Not everyone could see the ancestor whenever they wanted to. Even in the main family, it was not easy for the younger generation to see the ancestor. However, he still wanted to try his luck, but he did not dare to have too much hope. Master Ning, I can understand what you're thinking, but it's not up to me whether Godfather wants to see you or not, but I can help you pass on the message. Lung Ruoxua said softly. Then I'll thank Miss Lung first. I'll take my leave first. Ning Fei turned around and left. Looking at Ning Fei's back, the evil man pulled Shui into his arms and teased. Shui, you're so bad. Letting old man Ning meet a junior of the family is just a matter of a word from you. But you just have to keep us in suspense. You're right. As long as I ask, my godfather will definitely meet Ning Fei for my sake. However, that's why I can't ask him. If my godfather really wants to meet the Ning family, I wouldn't have to say it. Lung Ruoxua explained indifferently. As the saying goes, one should not impose on others what one did not want others to do to them. Therefore, she would not use her godfather's love as some capital to show off, and she would not interfere with the Ning family's internal affairs. Hee. It's old man Ning's fortune to have you as his goddaughter. The demon said with a doting expression. Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. Evildoer, now that the major forces' affairs have been basically resolved, let's go to the inner part of the forest when we have time. Suemo said. Lung Ruoxua suggested. Due to the urgency of the situation, the various major factions responded to her call and moved. Hence, Feng De and the rest had only swept through the outer perimeter. As for the deeper parts of the forest, they had yet to go in. Hence, she wanted to go in and take a look personally. All right. But we'll have to wait until the Ning and Qi family leave. The demon said. Yes, we'll go after they leave. Lung Ruoxua nodded. After that, the Nings and the Qi family stayed in Master Lung's house for almost 5 days. During this time, Master Ning even went to see Ning Fei. After that, Ning Fei was stunned. No one knew what Master Ning and Ning Fei talked about, but Ning Fei was more respectful to Lung Ruoxua. After sending off the people from the Ning and Qi families, Lung Ruoxua and the rest set off towards the depths of the forest. As they walked into the depths of the forest, Lung Ruoxua and the rest collected herbs from the side of the road. As there weren't many teams that dared to venture into the depths of the forest, there were unusually many herbs in the forest. Although many of them were ordinary herbs, the consumption of ordinary herbs was much greater than precious herbs when refining pills. Therefore, they would not let go of any herbs they saw. Master Ning frowned as he watched Lung Ruoxua and the rest gather herbs as they walked. He could not help but ask, Shui, if we follow this path, when can we reach the deepest part? He had never been to the deepest part of the Nightmare Forest, so he was really curious about what he would find there. Therefore, he followed them. However, according to the way these little guys were walking, it would be difficult for them to reach the depths before dark. Godfather, what's the hurry? We're not in a hurry. Lung Ruoxua chuckled. She would feel uncomfortable if she didn't pick the herbs. Could this be the so-called occupational disease? And her subordinates were infected by her, clearly also caught this occupational disease. It is. You damned old man, what's the rush? How could a fellow like you, who doesn't know how to refine tools or refine pills, understand our feelings when we see the materials? Girl, ignore him, let's slowly pick and dig. After the first elder yelled at Master Ning, he turned to Lung Ruoxue and smiled. There were not only herbs on the way, but also a lot of ordinary ores, which were also necessary for those who wanted to refine weapons. That was why he supported Lung Ruoxue and the others' actions. He even thought that as a qualified blacksmith, this was how they should be. Ha ha ha. All right. Seeing that the two old men were about to start a fight again, Lung Ruoxue chuckled and replied. These two men were just like her grandfather and the rest. They never stopped quarreling. However, the more they quarreled, the better their relationship was. You old thing, you only know how to bully me, Wu. Master Ning's face was full of grievances, and his eyes were filled with tears as he pretended to be pitiful. However, his pitiful appearance was completely ignored by everyone. Chapter 12:16. Entering the inner forest, too, Lung Ruoxue and the rest glanced at him, then bent down to continue gathering the herbs on the ground. First elder and the rest were focused on digging the ores on the ground. The subordinates of Master Ning looked at their master with sympathy, and couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. It seemed that the family head didn't have much status among these people. Otherwise, why would he always be bullied? If this was the Ning family, who would dare to treat the master like this? However, they only dared to think about it in their hearts. If they really felt injustice for their master, and said something that they shouldn't say, the master would definitely not let them off. The clan head had a heart of being abused. After getting along for so long, they were very clear about it. In fact, it was very difficult for them to understand the thoughts of the master of the Ning family with their status. After all, no matter how high the status of the master of the Ning family was, he was just a person. He also needed family love, warmth and care, but no one in the Ning family could give him that. To put it bluntly, the younger generation of the Ning family could not treat him as an ordinary old man. In the eyes of the Ning family, his status was unattainable and supreme. He was the ancestor of all the Ning family, so they did not dare to show any disrespect to Master Ning. This was also the main reason why Master Ning was not in a hurry to return to the Ning family, and instead chose to hang out with Lung Ruoxue and the rest. You're really too much. No one coaxed me, Wu. Seeing that no one was paying attention, Master Ning continued to complain. Godfather, don't pretend to be pitiful. I'll make you something delicious tonight. Lung Ruoxue sighed and said helplessly, Yes, yes. Master Ning nodded happily, then looked at the first elder provocatively and said proudly, Damn old man, it's my goddaughter who cares about me. Humph. You should learn. Your goddaughter is my god-granddaughter, so you're considered my junior. What's there to be proud of? The grand elder retorted with disdain. Old man, don't lie to me. Little Shui, is not your god-granddaughter. Besides, I'm not afraid even if it's me. Let's talk about our own matters. In short, don't even think about taking advantage of me. Seeing that someone was quarreling with him, Master Ning's spirit rose again. Old thing, you can be proud. You'll be crying sooner or later. The great elder rolled his eyes at Master Ning, and then lowered his head to dig the ore again. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him again, Master Ning began to feel bored. Seeing Master Ning like this, his subordinates all felt helpless, but they couldn't do anything. After all, they were not the great elder and didn't have the guts to argue with Master Ning. Lung Ruoxue and the rest walked as they gathered. By the time they entered the depths of the forest, it was already evening. They found a clean and spacious place and Lung Ruoxue took out the house that first elder had given her. She placed it on the ground and the group entered the house. Ehe. Old thing, this house you made is really not bad. We've already agreed on this. I'll provide the materials, and you'll give me the essence qi to help me refine one. Master Ning, who was looking around in the courtyard, reminded him. You can't be left out. The first elder said helplessly. It was all his fault. Why did he have to give the girl this house in front of this old thing? Now he had been targeted by this damn thing. Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. Then when will you make it for me? The master of the Ning family asked anxiously. What's the hurry? Have you prepared the materials? The great elder rolled his eyes at Master Ning. I've already sent someone to prepare it. It won't be long before the materials are sent to me. Master Ning said quickly. Then we'll talk when you bring the materials. The head elder said unhappily. As long as he thought of the origin breath he was going to give out, his heart would ache a little. Woo. Origin breath was extremely hard to come by. Yes. Master Ning nodded. From the corner of his eye, he saw Lung Ruoxue and the others preparing dinner at the other side of the courtyard. He could not help but ask curiously, "Girl, what are we having for dinner? You'll know when the time comes." Lung Ruoxue kept them in suspense. Actually, she didn't know what they wanted to eat for dinner, so she prepared everything for everyone to choose. It was like a buffet. Oh, Master Ning looked at Lung Ruoxue, feeling wronged. He complained in his heart, "What bad girl? She knew that I wanted to know, but she still kept me in suspense." Godfather, great elder, it's time to eat. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she spoke to the two of them. Arg. So fast. Master Ning looked at the table in confusion. The table was empty, and there was nothing there. What were they supposed to eat? Moreover, the fish in the hands of Fengda and the others didn't seem to be cooked. He couldn't be thinking of letting them eat raw fish, right? You two find a place to sit first, the food will be here soon. Just as Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, Fengda and the rest served the fish that they had packed. Girl, do you really want us to eat raw fish? I'm not the second elder of the Yao family. I don't eat raw food. Master Ning said with a face full of fear. As long as he thought of how the second elder of the Yao family had eaten so much raw meat, his scalp would go numb. These bad guys' ability to trick people was really too much to catch up to. Master Ning, don't be afraid. This fish is different from the raw meat that the second elder of the Yao family eats. It's called raw fish slices and very delicious. If it weren't for you two, we wouldn't have been willing to make it for others to eat. Fengda said with a smile, and his words made the two old men smile. Kid, you really know how to talk. The great elder complimented him with a smile. Shwe, your subordinates are all eloquent, unlike my stupid subordinates. It's like a mouse seeing a cat when it sees me, it's very boring. Master Ning also said with envy. However, his subordinates who were not far away heard Master's evaluation of them felt wronged in their hearts. Although they didn't dare to be rude to Master, they weren't at the point of a mouse seeing a cat. Godfather, let's eat. Lung Ruoxue sneaked a glance at the Ning family's subordinates, who had hidden bitterness in their eyes. She was so embarrassed that she didn't know what to say, so she could only change the topic. All right, he said. Master Ning and the great elder nodded, and the dishes were served one by one. The two looked at the rich variety of dishes, and without waiting for the others to serve, they began to eat first, praising as they ate. Chapter 12-17. Entering the inner forest 3, Lung Ruoxue looked at the two of them wolfing down the food and was speechless. It was just a meal. Was there a need to act as if he hadn't eaten in 800 years? If people who didn't know saw them like this, wouldn't they think that he had abused them? She didn't remember not having them eat or drink. How could it be like this? In fact, it wasn't just her. Even Master Ning's subordinates felt a little embarrassed when they saw their master like this. After all, what good things didn't the Ning family have? Even the head of the family had never been so gluttonous as he was here, although they had to admit that the food made by others was indeed more delicious than their own. Why aren't you guys eating? After eating for a while, Master Ning raised his head and found that everyone was looking at them. He couldn't help but ask in confusion. He really didn't know what these people were thinking when they didn't eat such delicious food. He couldn't help sighing in his heart. At this time, he would never have thought that everyone was actually frightened by the wind and cloud remnants when he and the great elder ate. You guys have already finished it. What else can we eat? Lu Feng couldn't bear it anymore and roared. These two old things were really too much. They actually ate almost all the food on the table. What interest did they have when they saw the remaining leftovers? I'm sorry. We thought you guys were eating too. Master Ning and the great elder looked at the remaining dishes on the table and pretended to be embarrassed. However, they didn't stop stuffing food into their mouths. Seeing them like this, everyone was speechless. It doesn't matter, let's get more. Lung Ruoxue tried to smooth things over. She didn't want these people to fight over a meal. Looking at Lu Feng's angry face, she didn't doubt this possibility at all. Good. Quickly make some more, I'm not full yet. Master Ning quickly agreed upon hearing Lung Ruoxue's words. You're not full yet? Are you a pig? Hearing Master Ning's shameless words, Lu Feng couldn't help but curse. Brat, you dare to call me a pig? Do you really think that I want dare to beat you up? Master Ning said angrily. Old man Ning, he even dared to scold me, what are you? The first elder lifted his eyelids and said calmly. That's because you didn't discipline him well. Humph. There's no one in the Ning family who dares to scold me. Master Ning shouted with a proud face. Yup. None of your descendants would dare to scold you to your face. They only do it behind your back. The first elder said. You old thing, do you have to go against me? Master Ning's eyes were wide open as he shouted. AI. It can't be helped, it's my hobby. The first elder sighed as he helplessly said. Lung Ruoxue was speechless when she saw the two old men arguing over a meal. She gave Fengde and the rest a look and they left the place quietly, leaving the place to these two old men who did not respect them. Reading on mybosnovelcom, please. Master Ning and the first elder saw Lung Ruoxue and the others leave from the corner of their eyes. They could not help but look at each other and smile. Then they continued eating. Little fox, why did you leave that place for them? You don't understand those two old things. They clearly quarreled on purpose. Now that their goal has been achieved, I'm afraid they're eating happily. Lu Feng grumbled. After knowing them for so many years, he understood the nature of those two old men too well. In fact, he was right. Master Ning and the great elder were unscrupulous in order to occupy the remaining food. Although they were leftovers in the eyes of Lu Feng and the others, the two old men would not let them go. It doesn't matter. If they like it, then let them eat. Let's go and eat something more delicious. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. How could she not guess what the two old men were thinking? The reason why she had brought everyone away so quickly was to let the two of them know that they would regret it so much that their intestines would turn green. There's something even more delicious? Lu Feng's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief. Of course, he. You guys are in for a treat. Fengde kept him in suspense. What is it? Mo Yin also asked curiously. You'll know in a while. Lung Ruoxue brought them to the dining room. Then she took out a few big fish that were still alive and kicking from her bracelet, and placed them on the table. What fish is this? She's pretty. Lu Feng looked at the huge fish in front of him, and asked curiously. This is called silver snowfish. It can only be found on the Haotian continent. Lung Ruoxue explained. Oh. Lu Feng nodded his head, but he couldn't help but think to himself, isn't it just a few fish? How good could it be? However, when he ate the silver snowfish, he realized that he had lived in vain for so many years. He didn't know that the fish meat would be so fresh and delicious. He was so excited that he almost bit off his tongue. After Lung Ruoxue and the rest finished their dinner, Master Ning and the first elder came looking for them. However, when they saw the strange looks from the crowd, the two old men were puzzled. What was going on? Lu Feng's face was actually filled with sympathy. Did they miss something? Master Ning and the great elder secretly guessed. You little brat, what's with that look? After a long while, Master Ning finally couldn't help but ask. Nothing. I just wanted to ask if the food was good. Lu Feng said with a light smile. Of course it's delicious, Sai. I'm sorry. We couldn't control it, so we didn't leave any for you. Master Ning said apologetically. It's fine. Lu Feng said nonchalantly, hee. If they hadn't eaten all the vegetables, he probably wouldn't have been able to eat such delicious fish. He heard from Fengde that the little fox didn't allow them to eat that kind of fish. You brat, you've changed. I thought you'd continue to scold me. Master Ning said with a smile, as if he had just met Lu Feng today. I don't scold people easily. Lu Feng said indifferently. You little brat. What do you mean by that? What did he mean by not scolding people easily? Am I not a human? The more Master Ning heard these words, the more wrong they seemed, and he couldn't help but ask. It doesn't mean anything. I am so full, Am going to sleep. Lu Feng stretched lazily, then stood up and left the dining room. We're going to sleep too. Leng Ruoxue stood up and said. In the blink of an eye, only the Great Elder and Master Ning were left in the dining room. Where are we going? Master Ning asked dumbly, thinking in his heart. These guys left too quickly. Could it be that there was something shameful going on? Of course I'm going to sleep. It's getting late. I still have to continue mining tomorrow. After the Great Elder finished speaking, he left Master Ning behind and left alone. Mining. You only know how to mine. Master Ning complained to himself. As soon as he heard about mining, he knew that tomorrow's speed would not be fast. Just as he had expected, after they set off the next day, Leng Ruoxue and the rest placed all their attention on picking herbs again. The Great Elder naturally had his eyes on his oars. Only Master Ning had nothing to do, and could only stare at his unlikable subordinate. He wanted to help pick herbs, but little Shui said that he only picked grass and asked him to help the Great Elder dig the ore. He went to help the Great Elder and the others dig the ore. But that damned old man actually said that he was clumsy and in the way. He was really angry. Leng Ruoxue could not help but find it funny when she saw Master Ning glaring at them from the side. Why was this old man acting like a child? He was even throwing a tantrum. Godfather, we're almost done digging. We can continue. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Then let's go. Master Ning was a little impatient. It had been 2 days, and they had only walked so little. Sigh. When would they be able to enter the deepest part of the forest? Let's go. Leng Ruoxue nodded, and the group continued on their journey. After walking in the forest for 5 days, Leng Ruoxue and the rest finally arrived at the deepest part of the forest. The depths of the forest were usually called the inner regions, and Leng Ruoxue and the others were heading to the deepest part of the inner regions. Leng Ruoxue and the rest were amazed as they looked at the dense giant tree in front of them. As expected of a tree from the immortal realm, it could actually grow to such a huge size. It would probably take dozens of people to surround it. Go. Let's quickly go in and take a look. Master Ning urged. After walking for 5 days, they had finally arrived. He was looking forward to it. Go in. Leng Ruoxue looked at Master Ning's anxious face with amusement as she said to the crowd. Everyone be careful and stay safe. Leng Ruoxue reminded. The crowd nodded and walked in. In the deepest part of the inner regions, other than being covered by countless giant trees, there were also many high-level beasts. The places that Leng Ruoxue and the rest passed by were filled with countless herbs and ores. The crowd was envious. Even Master Ning, who was not interested in herbs and ores, was shocked. However, when he thought about how these people were going to start picking herbs and mining, he felt depressed again. Chapter 12:18. Half-Orc 1. Before Master Ning could put his thoughts to rest, he saw Leng Ruoxue and the rest bending down and squatting on the ground to collect the herbs. The Great Elder took out his small shovel and started to dig around for ores. Seeing this scene, Master Ning was completely helpless. Sob. This group of people has an occupational disease. Although he really wanted to help, it was a pity that these people obviously didn't think much of him. Thinking of this, he felt even more depressed and simply found a corner to sit down. By the time Leng Ruoxue and the rest were done collecting the herbs and ores before them, it was almost nighttime again. They could not help but laugh out loud when they saw Master Ning sitting in a corner, like a pitiful little boy with a bitter expression on his face. Ha! You old thing. Why do you have such a dead look? The first elder couldn't take it anymore. Who was this damn old man acting pitiful for? He did not have any sympathy. Humph. Master Ning rolled his eyes at First Elder and didn't say anything. He even turned his head to the other side. Yo. You're still throwing a tantrum. Hee hee. It's so funny. The Great Elder teased. He had quite a good time mining today, so he decided to just tease this old man. I can't be bothered with you. Master Ning said with a look of disdain. Godfather, what's wrong with you? Leng Ruoxue chuckled, knowing full well what she meant. All of you go pick your herbs and dig your mines. Don't bother with me. Master Ning said angrily. I really don't want to talk to you? Alright then. Since this is Godfather's request, we can only satisfy you. Lung Ruoxia's face was filled with helplessness, as if she was very unwilling. However, she could not help but snicker in her heart. When the others saw this, they secretly turned their heads and laughed. When Master Ning heard Lung Ruoxia's words and saw that everyone had their backs turned to them and were laughing, he felt even more depressed. He was just saying it casually and wanted to be coaxed. Should he really take it seriously? He wanted to cry but had no tears. Yup. Old man, well, satisfy your request now. Are you satisfied? The first elder said with an evil smile. Am satisfied. Am very satisfied. Master Ning said through gritted teeth, wishing he could eat this old thing's flesh and drink his blood. Hee. Let's stay here for the night. Lung Ruoxia laughed in her heart. She looked at the sky and decided to set up camp here. Yes. Everyone nodded. Then Lung Ruoxia took out another house and everyone walked in together. This time, Master Ning walked behind everyone, as if he had been dealt a heavy blow. Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. After dinner, Lung Ruoxia and the rest went back to their own rooms. No one bothered with Master Ning. Seeing that they were really ignoring him, Master Ning's mood became low. His subordinates who were watching from the side felt extremely sympathetic to their master. This was all the master's own doing. The next morning, when Lung Ruoxia and the rest left the room, they did not see Master Ning and his subordinates. Seeing this, they could not help but let their thoughts run wild. Where did Godfather go? You won't really get angry and leave, right? Lung Ruoxia asked curiously. In her impression, her godfather shouldn't be such a petty person. I won't. Don't worry. Old man Ning probably went into the forest. That old thing thinks we're too slow and can't wait any longer. The great elder said with a look of understanding. He had known that old man for a long time. He knew what that guy wanted to do as soon as he raised his butt. Therefore, he did not believe that the old man of the Ning family would just leave. Damn old man, you're talking bad about me again. As soon as the great elder finished speaking, Master Ning's voice reached everyone's ears. The great elder gave Lung Ruoxia a look, as if to say, look, I was right. I didn't say anything bad about you, don't accuse me. The first elder said with a smile. Humph. I heard everything, and you still want to deny it. Master Ning's eyes were wide open as he said angrily. Godfather, where did you go so early in the morning? Lung Ruoxia asked curiously. I'm going hunting, look. I have a lot of prey. Master Ning gestured for his subordinates to bring the prey over, and showed it to Lung Ruoxia and the others. I say, you old thing, you didn't beat up all the small animals in this forest, did you? Looking at the frightening amount of prey in the hands of the Ning family, the great elder couldn't help but be speechless. Of course not. Not only that, I even picked up a little fellow. After Master Ning finished speaking, he motioned for his subordinate to hand over a fluffy white beast. The little beast looked like a puppy. It was only the size of a palm, and seemed to have just been born. It looked so weak that it couldn't even stand the wind. A pair of big, black eyes were looking at everyone timidly. That cute appearance instantly captured everyone's hearts. Wah! This little thing is so cute. Is it a puppy? Lu Tao's eyes were shining as she looked at the little white beast in Master Ning's arms. I'm not a dog. Hearing Lu Tao's words, the little white beast in Master Ning's arms complained in a low voice. Then what are you? Green Peach asked curiously. I am the great soul-gnawing beast. The little white beast said proudly. Pfft, a little kid like you. And you call yourself a great soul-gnawing beast? What a joke. Little kid, you're not a good kid when you lie. Lu Tao reminded him with a smile. You dare to look down on the great soul-gnawing beast, humph. You will regret this. The little white beast pouted its little mouth, and its fluffy cute face was full of dissatisfaction. Why are there soul-gnawing beasts here? Where did you kidnap this old thing from? The great elder asked in surprise. Soul-gnawing beasts were good stuff. Just from its name, one could tell that this beast should be extremely powerful and impossible to guard against. However, there would definitely not be more than 10 beasts with such heaven-defying talent in the divine realm. He did not expect that he would actually encounter one here. It really made people envious, jealous, and hateful. AI. How could he have such good luck? This was really infuriating. What do you mean kidnapped? Do you know how to speak? This little beastie is lost and wants to find its mother, so I brought it back. Master Ning quickly explained. Another one looking for mommy? The great elder said with a strange expression. As far as he knew, it was not easy for soul-gnawing beasts to give birth, and they were rare in number. Therefore, every baby soul-gnawing beast would be guarded very strictly by its parents. A lost little soul-gnawing beast like this was simply too inconceivable. Could it be that its parents had met with an accident? He couldn't help but let his thoughts run wild. Chapter 12:19. Half-orc 2. Pft. Fengde couldn't help but laugh when he heard the great elder's words. He knew that the great elder must have thought of the second elder of the Yao family. However, the second elder of the Yao family was different from this little beastie. What's so funny? Of course, children need to find their mothers. Master Ning rolled his eyes at the crowd. Yup. Are you his nanny now? The first elder laughed and teased. Of course I don't count. This is what I want to give to Shui. Master Ning's eyes were spitting fire as he roared. After he finished speaking, he threw the little beast in his arms to Lung Ruoxue and said to the little beast, Little guy, you will follow her from now on. She will dote on you. Really? The little beastie's face was filled with disbelief. Ever since it opened its eyes, it had never seen its parents. The other beastie in the forest hated it, ostracized it, and always wanted to bully it. If it wasn't for its terrifying talent, it would have died long ago. Therefore, it found it hard to believe that someone would be willing to take it in. It's true. Lung Ruoxue replied helplessly. It was hard for her to reject such a young man. When the little beastie heard Lung Ruoxue's words, its dark and clear eyes flickered with tears. Its little nose sniffled, and it was so touched that it was about to cry. Little guy, since your mother is missing, you can stay with us for the time being. Lung Ruoxue looked at little beastie's pitiful state and coaxed it with heartache. Yes. The little beastie nodded its little head, and a little smile appeared on its little face. After everyone had their breakfast, they continued on their way. However, with the presence of the soul-gnawing beast, a small native, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had taken fewer detours in the forest. Furthermore, the little beast knew where the best herbs and ores were. Lung Ruoxue and the others had returned with a full load after spending a few days in the deepest part of the forest. However, Master Ning did not look too happy because he realized that he had made a mistake. He had given the little beast to little Shui, but it seemed to have fulfilled their wishes. They had done nothing else other than picking herbs and mining for the past few days. When he thought of this, he felt depressed. Godfather, don't be depressed. Tomorrow, let Xiao take us to the most dangerous place here. Lung Ruoxue looked at Master Ning's bitter expression and said helplessly. Xiao was the name she had given to the soul-gnawing beast because even if it was an adult, it would not be much bigger than it was now. Girl, ignore him. He's just bored. He'll get better if no one cares about him. First Elder said in understanding. TSK, don't think that he didn't know what this old thing was thinking. Didn't he just feel that he had been given the cold shoulder these days? You're the one who's bored to death, old man. Master Ning shouted angrily. Who said that? I'm so busy. The first elder said with a smile. Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. Look at how smug you are. Master Ning was very angry. He couldn't bear to see this old thing's smug look. What should he do? Alright, stop quarreling. Let's get ready to eat. Lung Ruoxue laughed helplessly. These two old foodies would only quieten down when they heard that it was time to eat. However, they would also quarrel as they ate. Eat. I want to eat. Before Master Ning and First Elder could say anything, Xiao, who was lying on Lung Ruoxue's shoulder, rushed to say. She even looked at Lung Ruoxue with a drooling face, almost drooling. Ai. Another little glutton. Lung Ruoxue sighed helplessly. This little thing might look small, but its appetite was surprisingly big. As long as it saw food, it would obediently do whatever it was told to do. With regards to this, she was extremely speechless. It was fortunate that this little fellow was with them now. Otherwise, if it had fallen into someone else's hands, wouldn't it be in trouble? Why do you only know how to eat? Master Ning said unhappily. This little guy was now everyone's new pet, and it always fought with him for food, so he now regretted bringing it back. If he had known, he would have left it outside and let it die on its own. He couldn't help but think with a bad heart. I'm hungry. I've never had a full meal since I was born. Xiao Xiao said with tears in her eyes. Her pitiful appearance immediately caused everyone to feel sorry for her. It doesn't matter. Xiao Xiao, if you like it, just eat it. We can afford it. Green Peach was the first to console him. Yup. That's right. It doesn't matter how much Xiao Xiao wants to eat. There are so many of us here, we can't afford to feed a little baby like you. Zuizhu also said. You guys just spoil it. Master Ning was furious when he saw everyone comforting that evil, cunning little thing. However, he would not admit that he was jealous of that little fellow. It's still small. Children should be in pain. Lu Tao could not help but ask. Master Ning was so angry that he stopped talking. All right, let's go and prepare the meal. Lung Ruoxua looked at Master Ning, who was throwing a childish tantrum, and chuckled. After dinner, Lung Ruoxua asked Xiao Xiao about the forest. Xiao Xiao, how many places here are dangerous for you? Lung Ruoxua asked curiously. The day this little fellow came, it had told her that there were a few places here that were very dangerous, and it did not dare to go. Thus, it had brought them to places that it thought were very safe. There are 3. Xiao Xiao frowned as she thought. What kind of place is it? Tell us. The great elder urged impatiently. I don't know. I've never been there before, but my gut tells me that it's very dangerous, so I always go around it. Xiao Xiao said, a little embarrassed. Everyone was speechless. This little guy had never been there before. Beasts are born with an innate ability to sense danger. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to grow up safely. Since Xiao Xiao doesn't know the situation there, let's go and see for ourselves tomorrow. Lung Ruoxua chuckled. Many beasts did not have their parents by their side to protect them when they were born. Hence, this required them to have some special instincts. Otherwise, they would have long become food for other beasts. Yes. Everyone nodded and went to rest. The next day, they followed Xiaoxiao's guidance and arrived at one of the dangerous places that Xiao Xiao had mentioned. Chapter 12:20, Half-Orc 3. That place was located in the north of the deepest part of the forest. The trees outside were dense, and the road was blocked. They spent a lot of effort and finally cleared a path that could only be used by one person at a time. After everyone went in, they discovered that this was actually a valley. The air in the valley was fresh and the scenery was pleasant. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't look like the dangerous place that Xiao Xiao had said. Xiao Xiao, are you sure it's dangerous here? He asked. Feng Die's face was full of question marks. This was also what the others were thinking. No one could imagine how dangerous a place with such beautiful scenery could be. Yes, yes. Xiao Xiao nodded vigorously. But I really can't see how dangerous this place is. Feng De was very puzzled. Want you know once we go in and take a look. Let's go. Master Ning's face was full of anxiety. As soon as he finished speaking, he strode forward. Let's go. Lung Ruoxua looked at her godfather's impatient look and said helplessly. Then, the crowd followed Master Ning and walked forward. After walking around for half a day, they discovered nothing other than a few scattered beasts. Everyone found a small stream and started a fire on the shore to make something to eat. After dividing the work, the food was quickly prepared. However, they had just eaten a few mouthfuls when they found that the stream water seemed to be boiling. Seeing this situation, everyone immediately raised their vigilance. Be careful, everyone. Lung Ruoxua warned. Her beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at the surface of the water. She did not know what was inside, but she hoped that it would not take the initiative to provoke them. Otherwise, she would not let it off. Miss, what is that thing? He actually caused such a huge commotion. Lu Tao couldn't help but click her tongue. This stream didn't look very big, and the water wasn't deep, so how could there suddenly be so much water? This was really too strange. Don't worry, it'll come out. Well, no, in a while. Lung Ruoxua consoled him. Actually, she also wanted to know what was in the stream. Just now, Qingju had sent her a voice transmission saying that there was a huge creature in the stream. However, he kept her in suspense and did not tell her what it was. This had also aroused her curiosity. However, Qingju had said that the thing was not bad. If she could subdue it, it would be a great help in the future. Hence, she was not too worried about the danger of the unknown thing. Just as Lung Ruoxia's voice fell, a head popped out from the water and stared at them warily. Everyone was stunned. Why was it a person? The head above the water was a beautiful face with a pair of clear blue eyes. They were so transparent that they could almost be seen. However, the person's face was very vigilant, as if he was very dissatisfied with them. It was obvious that it was a man, a beautiful man with the strength of a divine emperor. Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. Who are you? Why are you trespassing on my territory? The man said unhappily. Not only that, but she had also disturbed his rest and used such an alluring smell to seduce him. This was preposterous and too much. Sob. He hadn't eaten for a long time. He really wanted to eat. We didn't know this was your territory. We just wanted to come in and take a look. Feng Die's forehead was full of black lines. He thought to himself, why does this man change his face faster than turning a page in a book? He was very unhappy just now, but in the blink of an eye, he's acting cute again. However, it's undeniable that such a pretty boy's appearance will definitely make all women's maternal love overflow. Oh, this probably didn't include the three beside him. Wrong, it was two, because Tsueju was already staring at him with a love-struck look. It was really embarrassing. Many of them were not any worse than this pretty boy. Wah! Is this the legendary Little Bottom? Quize's face was full of surprise. Little Bottom. When everyone present heard these two words, large beads of sweat kept dripping down from their foreheads. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Tsueju had learned her lesson. She had actually learned from others and liked the bottom. How do you know him, little beastie? The man asked, confused. He thought that these people would treat him as a human. He didn't expect them to be able to tell that he wasn't a pure human at a glance. His eyes were really sharp. The man could not help but think to himself. However, he did not know that the little bottom that Tsueju was talking about was not the same one he knew. Hearing the man's question, everyone was speechless. They didn't know what to say. How could there be such a simple beastie? No wonder Tsueju called him Little Show. He really looked like it. You look like him, Tsueju said with a smile, her face full of infatuation. I don't care how you found out my identity. You trespassed on my territory, and must compensate me. Otherwise, I won't let you off. The man said in a shocking manner. His words had also struck Lung Ruoxia and the rest like lightning. This was because his words were all too familiar, especially the word compensation. It made them feel even closer to him. It seemed like they were kindred spirits. Things would be much easier this way. How do you want us to compensate you? Lung Ruoxia said with a faint smile. Didn't Green Vessel say that he wanted to subdue him? Initially, she wasn't very interested in this little thing. However, after hearing that he wanted compensation, she became interested. This little fellow was clearly one of them. Look at the tone of his voice, it's so similar to theirs. Give me your food. The man said after some thought. He had not eaten for a long time, and had almost forgotten the taste of food. Therefore, the first thing he thought of was to ask for food. Just food? Lung Ruoxia asked in exasperation. She was really a little thing who had never seen the world. How could he only ask for food? One had to know that this was such a good opportunity. She actually didn't want to take advantage of the situation. As for whether she would give it to him or not, that was her problem. Yes. The man nodded. What he wanted the most now was human food. After all, he had once been a human. All right, the food is here. Come up and get it yourself. Lung Ruoxia pointed at the food in front of them and tried to tempt them. The man hesitated and looked at the food not far away. In the end, he couldn't resist the temptation of the food and climbed out of the water. The reason he said he climbed was because he had a fish tail. The tail was light blue and it glowed with a faint halo. It was unusually beautiful. When Lung Ruoxia and the rest saw his tail, They were stunned and did not come back to their senses for a long time. Ugh. I've never heard of mermaids in this world. Lung Ruoxue was flabbergasted. However, that tail was extremely beautiful. When matched with that man's beautiful face, it was a natural work of art. Sister, he's not the mermaid you're thinking of. At this moment, Qingju transmitted his voice again. Oh. Then what was he? Fish-type beastie? Lung Ruoxue transmitted her voice over curiously. Sister, how should I put this? He should be considered half human, half fish. Some of his ancestors must have combined with beasts. In his generation, the bloodline of beasts is obviously very weak, and he's showing signs of atavism. However, it's obvious that he's not welcomed by his own family, otherwise, he wouldn't be staying here alone. Qingju explained with an understanding look. In the eyes of pure humans, the offspring of humans and beasts were not pure and were despised by others. In fact, in his opinion, it was clearly an excuse for humans to be jealous. This was because the offspring of humans and beasts would combine the common advantages of humans and beasts, and their qualifications were not something that pure humans could compare with. Therefore, once some humans found this kind of half-human, half-beast, they would almost not hesitate to kill it, not allowing it to live in the world at all. This half-human, half-beast must be the reason why it was able to become a divine emperor. Oh. After hearing Qingju's explanation, Lung Ruoxue finally understood. However, she was quite interested in this mermaid. She just did not know if this little fellow was easy to trick. As for the man who had already climbed up to the shore, after seeing their expressions, he instinctively wanted to retreat back into the water, because he really didn't want to see other people's strange gazes anymore. It had been so long, but he still couldn't forget the pain he had once suffered. Wait, don't go. The food is here. You don't want it anymore? Lung Ruoxue hurriedly shouted when she saw that her prey was about to escape. I. The man only said the word, I, and did not continue. However, that pair of light blue beautiful eyes flickered with tears, and he looked very aggrieved. Here you go. Take it and eat it. Sueju saw that the man was a little shy, so she picked up the food in front of her and ran to the man. She stuffed everything into his hands, and then ran back to the crowd with a blush. The man looked at the food in his hand and whispered in embarrassment. Thank you, he said. Come over and eat with us. Lung Ruoxue called out. I can. The man asked carefully. He didn't forget the reaction of these people when they saw his tail. Of course you can. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile, and the others hurriedly nodded their heads. However, Xiao Xiao, who was lying on Lung Ruoxue's shoulder, didn't seem to like him. Thank you. Mziyu. The man introduced himself, then found a seat beside Lung Ruoxue and the rest. I'm Lung Ruoxue, and these are my family and subordinates. We'll be staying here for a few days, so you can slowly get to know them. Lung Ruoxue laughed. Yes. Ziyu nodded, then picked up the food in her hand and began to eat very elegantly. Ziyu, you're a human, right? Lung Ruoxue sized up Ziyu for a while before she spoke with certainty. I used to be. However, my bloodline has returned to its ancestor, so I'm no longer a human. I'm a small beast. Ziyu said with some sadness. If not for this, he would not have stayed here all alone. There's nothing bad about little beastie. There is no distinction between noble and lowly in life. The key is what you think. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. I know, but people like me, not only will humans hate me, even beasts don't like me. The soul-gnawing beast on your shoulder is the same. If it wasn't for the fact that it's still underage, it would definitely want to eat me. Ziyu said with a bitter smile. This was the sorrow of the half-orcs. Their status in the divine realm was not recognized by any human or beast. Therefore, almost all half-orcs could not live long. If they wanted to live long, they had to find a place where they would not be discovered by others, such as him. Chapter 12:21. The Fleeing Rhinoceros 1. Yes, I don't like him. Xiao Xiao nodded its little head and said very seriously. It was a pity that it was too small now and was no match for this half-orc. Otherwise, this half-orc would be a great supplement for beasts. If I can eat him, I might be able to become an adult directly. It couldn't help but secretly think. However, It was also very clear that this beautiful sister would not allow it to treat this half-orc as food, so it could only covet it in its heart. Is it your instinct to dislike him? Lung Ruoxua asked curiously. And that's right. Us pure-blooded beasts do not like things that have human blood in them. Thus, he is also an unwelcome existence in the beast world. If it were not for his strength, he would have been eaten by other beasts long ago. I think that's also the reason why he's hiding here and not daring to stay in the divine world. Xiao Xiao said. Little thing, what do you know? Mixed bloods are very precious, so you can't have any ideas about him. Otherwise, Lung Ruoxua did not finish her sentence. However, she believed that with this little fellow's intelligence, he would understand what she meant. Although this little fellow had just been born, he was a very smart little fox. Yes. No matter how much I hate him, I don't dare to have any ideas about him. Sister, you have to believe me. We soul-gnawing beasts are the most trustworthy. Xiao Xiao quickly raised its paws and promised. Its cute little appearance made it seem as if it was a sin if others did not believe it. Xiao Xiao, of course we believe you. So don't let us down. Fengde also warned. After being with this little thing for a few days, they knew its nature very well. Therefore they had to make things clear. Otherwise, if this little thing attacked the half-orc one day when they were not paying attention, who would they go to get him back? Oh. Who asked this little guy to be so gluttonous? I won T. I can guarantee it with my soul-gnawing beast's personality. Xiao Xiao raised its little paws and said with a wronged expression. Woo. Why didn't anyone believe it? It was an honest and good child, really. Well, believe you for now. Stop pretending to be pitiful. Master Ning said with an evil smile. Hee. With this beautiful half-orc, this little thing might not be the most favored one. Therefore he was in a very good mood. As long as he thought about how this little thing had been constantly fighting with him for his favor these past few days, his heart would itch with hatred. He wanted to strangle this little fellow to death. I'm not pretending to be pitiful. Xiao Xiao pouted and explained in a low voice. It'd be a wonder if there wasn't he. Hurry up and eat. If you don't eat, you'll be hungry later. Master Ning reminded. Art. I want to eat them. These are all mine. When Xiao Xiao heard this, it immediately jumped off Lung Ruoxua's shoulder and used its tiny claws to gather all the food in front of it. It looked like it was protecting its food and kept using its claws to stuff food into its mouth. Its cheeks were bulging from the food. Seeing this, everyone could not help but laugh. Xiao Xiao, eat slowly. No one's snatching it from you. Lung Ruoxua was a little speechless. Why did this little thing seem to lose its life the moment it saw food? How long had it been hungry for? Yes. Xiao Xiao nodded her head, but she had no intention of stopping stuffing food into her mouth. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua and the others were truly helpless. However, they would not be calculative with a little baby, much less snatch its food. Looking at Xiao Xiao wolfing down the food, and then looking at Ziya's elegant manner as she ate, everyone suddenly felt that they were both beasts. But why was there such a big difference? Reading on mybosnovel.com, please. After the meal, Lung Ruoxua decided to set up camp by the small stream Ziyu was in. Who asked her to have the thought of abducting this merman? After taking out the house and fixing it on the empty ground, everyone entered. However, Lung Ruoxua saw that Ziyu had not moved and could not help but ask curiously. Why don't you go in? Do you want to go back into the water? Can I go in? Ziyu asked expectantly. He had never thought that Lung Ruoxua would have such a divine weapon in her possession. He was once a human, so he naturally knew that it was not easy to refine a divine weapon that could accommodate a person. However, at this moment, he only thought that Lung Ruoxua was from a large family clan and had come out to train. Of course you can, come in quickly. Lung Ruoxua chuckled. Yes, thank you. Ziyu said gratefully. He had been away from human society for too long, so his desire for these things was unimaginable to others. Ziyu, you don't have to be too polite with us. Let's go. I'll ask Fengde to arrange a room for you. Lung Ruoxua laughed. All right, he said. Ziyu nodded, then followed Lung Ruoxua and the demon into the house. After instructing Fengde to arrange a room for Ziyu, Lung Ruoxua pulled the evil demon back to her room. The moment they entered the room, the evil demon immediately pulled Lung Ruoxua into his arms and said with a dissatisfied expression, "I'm jealous." Why are you getting jealous again? Lung Ruoxua was a little speechless as she tried to recall. She didn't seem to have done anything that she shouldn't have. You're too focused on that Ziyu, so I'm jealous. The demon said in jealousy. I didn't. Don't wrong me. Lung Ruoxua sighed softly and said helplessly, You still say you don't have it? You even asked Fengde to arrange a room for him personally. He's just a fish. It's enough for him to live in the water. Why does he need to live in a room? It's best if the fish doesn't leave the water. The demon said a little unreasonably. Ha ha ha. To be honest, I asked Fengde to arrange a room for him because I wanted to make him my subordinate. As for the water, are you suggesting that I should get him a water room? Lung Ruoxua purposely twisted the demon's words as she laughed evilly. Don't even think about it. The demon growled in a low voice and hugged Lung Ruoxua even tighter. Silly girl. Lung Ruoxua touched the demon's head and came to this important conclusion. However, that little fish's aptitude is not bad. Moreover, the beast that inherited the beast bloodline was once very powerful. It's a pity that it went extinct a long time ago. Otherwise, if we could find a female beast, we might be able to reproduce the glory of that race in the past. The demon said again. Chapter 12:22. The Fleeing Rhinoceros 2. Lung Ruoxua was taken aback. She couldn't understand why the evildoer would be dragged into this. A female? She didn't like to arrange the marriage for her subordinates or beastie. Matters of the heart should be left to nature. It's decided then. We'll help him find a female, so that he can restore the glory of his race. The demon said with a proud smile. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that his idea was not bad. After all, he had to kill his future love rival in the cradle. Only then would little Shui be safe. Demon, let's go to sleep. Lung Ruoxua wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and changed the topic. Yes. The demon nodded. Following that, Lung Ruoxua brought the two of them into the bangle. The next morning, Lung Ruoxua and the rest left the room and arrived at the garden. However, they realized that there were already people in the garden. A devastatingly beautiful man was sitting on a chair in the garden, and opposite him, on the stone table, was a furry, snow-white little beast. The little beast's eyes were as black as ink, and they were emitting a hot glow like the sun. Saliva was dripping from the corner of its mouth, wetting the soft fur around its mouth. Seeing this scene, everyone's foreheads could not help but be filled with black lines. They were all deeply speechless. Xiao Xiao actually drooled at Ziyu. However, everyone knew that Xiao Xiao was definitely not mesmerized by Ziyu's beauty. Instead, she had treated the beautiful Ziyu as food. At this moment, Ziyu was also staring at Xiao Xiaoyan with a trace of playfulness in her eyes. She said indifferently, You really want to eat me? Yes, I do. Xiao Xiao was very honest. What use did it have if it wanted to? Its sister wouldn't allow it. Moreover, if it wanted to eat this half-orc, it wouldn't be able to do so without its sister's help. It couldn't defeat this half-orc now, let alone eat him. So, it could only look at him and satisfy its craving. Oh, how sad and pitiful it was. Hee. You're honest, but you can't eat me now. Ziyu reminded. I know. That's why I'm only looking. I'm not eating. Xiao Xiao's eyes were filled with tears as she said pitifully, You're pretty cute, little thing. Ziyu stretched out her hand and gently stroked the soft fur on Xiao Xiao's body. Don't touch me. I don't like you. Its small body writhed and struggled non-stop. Unfortunately, in Ziyu's eyes, it was just a small child who didn't pose any threat. I do like you. I once had a puppy that was about the same size as you. However, it was killed by my clansman when it tried to save me. Aside from his parents, that little dog was his best friend. Although dog-type beasts had a very low status in the beast realm, they were the easiest to tame in the eyes of humans. Furthermore, they were extremely loyal, unlike some beasts with noble bloodlines who looked down on ordinary humans. Reading on mybosnow.com, please. Even after he had become a half-orc, The puppy still stayed by his side and gave him the only warmth. At that time, even his parents had despised him, but his best friend had not. However, his best friend had been mercilessly killed by his own clansmen. However, he could not avenge his friend. This was his greatest regret. Sometimes he even felt that he was too useless. Unfortunately, he was too weak. Moreover, his identity in the divine world would be condemned by everyone. If Beastie found him, it would not let him go either. He was not afraid of death, but he wanted to avenge his friend. Therefore, he had to keep his life. Damn it, I'm not a dog. When Xiao Xiao heard that he was being mistaken for a dog again, he couldn't help but roar angrily. Then he opened his small mouth and bit Ziya's finger fiercely. Immediately, blood flowed out along the teeth marks he made. Have you sucked enough? You little vampire. Ziyu said in a pampering tone. Not only did this little thing bite him, but it had also sucked his blood. Sigh. His blood wasn't that easy to suck, and he couldn't help but think to himself with some evil intentions. Your blood is quite delicious. Xiao Xiao let go of her mouth and licked her lips as if she had not had enough. However, why did it feel dizzy? Could it be that it got drunk after drinking some blood? After she finished speaking, Xiao Xiao swayed her little body, lowered her head with a plop, and fell asleep. What's wrong with Xiao Xiao? Seeing that Xiao Xiao had fainted, Leng Ruoxue and the rest walked over, and could not help but ask curiously. It drank my blood. Ziyu explained with a faint smile. Does your blood have a hypnotic effect? Leng Ruoxue asked in shock. She had seen from afar that Xiao Xiao was still alive and kicking. It had only been a short while, and she had actually fallen asleep. It was truly unbelievable. Almost. However, after this little thing awakens, it shouldn't have any more enmity towards me. Ziyu said with a mysterious smile. Oh, then you're safe. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly and thought to herself. Did Ziyu intentionally get Xiao Xiao to bite me? When Xiao Xiao slowly woke up and saw Ziyu again, she was indeed much closer to him. Moreover, she stuck to Ziyu all day long, making everyone extremely puzzled. They all wondered in their hearts, could it be that eating a little of his blood was so useful? After staying here for a few days, Ziyu had become familiar with everyone. Sometimes, she would even take the initiative to chat with them. Moreover, the feeling of being with them made Ziyu feel very comfortable. One must know that even in the past, when he was in the family, he had never been so relaxed. However, after knowing that they would leave here tomorrow, his mood became low. Do you guys have to leave tomorrow? Ziyu said, full of reluctance. Yup. We've been staying here for a few days, and would like to go to other places. Besides, we're not far from here. If you miss us, you can come to us. Leng Ruoxue chuckled, obviously playing hard to get. Fengde and the others also said that they welcomed him as a guest, and no one suggested for him to join their team. Oh, Ziyu nodded, feeling very conflicted in his heart. In fact, he really wanted to leave with them. For so many years, he had never met anyone who didn't reject him. He also wanted to have friends, but ever since his bloodline returned to its ancestor, this kind of thought had become an extravagant hope. However, none of them had said that they wanted him to leave with them, so he was embarrassed to ask. He was afraid that they would reject him. Chapter 12:23. The Fleeing Rhinoceros 3. Looking at Ziya's conflicted expression, Leng Ruoxue knew that this fellow was tempted. Hence, she decided to strike while the iron was hot. Actually, if you're willing, you can leave with us. After all, you're quite lonely here. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Aren't you afraid of being implicated by me? Ziyu was a little hesitant. It was good to be with them, but once he thought of his identity, he couldn't leave with them so easily, although he really wanted to. What's there to be afraid of? Whoever dares to provoke us is courting death. Fengde said loudly. That's right, Ziyu. Don't be afraid. I will protect you. Sueju patted her chest and promised. I'm just afraid that you'll be implicated by me. Since you're not afraid, I'll go with you. Ziyu said very seriously. Okay, let's go then. By the way, go and pack your things. We'll wait for you outside. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. When she said outside, she was naturally referring to outside the house. I don't have anything to pack, Ziyu said, a little embarrassed. He had only been cultivating and sleeping, so he had not saved anything. Then let's just go, Lung Ruoxue said. After everyone had left the house, she kept the house and everyone left the place, heading towards the second place that Xiao Xiao had sensed danger from. The second location wasn't far from here, so they arrived in less than an hour. Lung Ruoxue was speechless as she looked at the desolate land in front of her. Why was this place so different from the place where Ziyu had stayed previously? If the place where Ziyu lived was a scenic spot with picturesque scenery, then this place was a desolate desert. Miss this place. Fonda looked at the bare yellow land in front of him and did not know what to say. He never knew that there would be a barren land in the forest. This was truly unbelievable. There isn't even a tree here. Are there any beasts living here? Lu Tao's face was also filled with curiosity. At this moment, not even a blade of grass could be found in front of them. She could not believe that any beastie would be willing to stay here. There are. Ziyu nodded. He didn't expect that they would actually come here. If it wasn't necessary, he wouldn't be willing to come here. You know about it? Feng Die's face was full of surprise. However, after thinking about it, he didn't find it strange anymore. After all, Ziyu had lived in this forest for many years. It was normal for her to know some beasts. Reading on Mybosnovel.com, please. I've once fought with the beastie that lives here. That beastie is very strong. As for what kind of strength it has now, I'm not very sure. Ziyu said with a frown. He had fought with that beastie many years ago. At that time he had won with great difficulty. After that, they had not met again. What kind of beastie is it? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. It was a giant rhinoceros. At that time, its strength was comparable to mine, but its defense was very high. So, we fought very hard, and I won with great difficulty. Ziyu explained. Oh, Lung Ruoxue finally understood. Miss, since there's only one giant rhinoceros here, do we still want to go in? Fonda could not help but ask. Of course, we have to let it know who the real owner of this place is. I don't want any beasts to cause any trouble in my territory. Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. She was trying to get the rhinoceros to behave. After all, a rhinoceros had a very short temper. However, she didn't intend to kill the rhinoceros. Hee. Miss, let's go in then. Fonda laughed evilly. He loved to teach people and beasts a lesson. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Following that, the group headed towards the giant rhinoceros lair. Lung Ruoxue and the rest walked past the barren land and came to a cave. According to Ziyu, this should be the lair of the giant rhinoceros. Young miss, this cave seems to be quite old. I don't know if the rhinoceros is still inside. If it's not, then we've come here for nothing. Fonda couldn't help but remind him. Since we're already here, we naturally have to go and take a look. Lung Ruoxue said very seriously. She did not want to make a wasted trip, so since she was here, she had to get to the bottom of this. Then I'll go down and take a look. If that rhinoceros is inside, I'll force it out. Fonda said after thinking for a while. No need to go down, I have a way to force it up. Ziyu stopped Fonda, who was about to jump into the hole. Oh, I'll leave it to you then. After Fonda finished speaking, he gave up his seat. Yes. Ziyu nodded, and then he began to gather water attribute divine power in his hand. When the water attribute divine power in his hand was about the size of a blue ball, he threw the big water ball directly into the hole. This is enough? Fonda asked, a little dumbfounded. He had only thrown a water ball into the cave, and the giant rhinoceros would run up by itself? Yes. Ziyu nodded and then explained. Giant rhinos don't care about hygiene, so they hate water the most. As long as they come into contact with water, they'll definitely be furious. Before Ziyu could finish her sentence, everyone heard a deafening roar coming from the entrance of the cave. Damn it! Who dares to throw a water ball into this king's cave? Grandpa won't let you off. As soon as the roar ended, everyone saw a black shadow scuttle out of the hole and land in front of them. However, it was not a giant rhinoceros but a mimicked small rhinoceros. This little rhinoceros body was as black as ink, and it had a pair of large bronze-like eyes. At this moment, It was glaring fiercely at Fengde and the others. However, when its gaze landed on Ziyu, it couldn't help but roar loudly. So it's you, you dead fish. Why did you bring so many humans to my place? Are you trying to take revenge on me? I was the one who was beaten up last time. Can you be clear about this? The little rhinoceros was so angry that it was about to explode. It admitted that it had provoked this guy for no reason. But didn't it also learn its lesson? Why did he bring so many people to find trouble with it now? This was too much. How could he let the rhinoceros live? It was getting angrier and angrier, and the more it thought about it, the more pitiful it felt. How could it have such a petty and vengeful neighbor? Ooh, a bad guy who helped others while helping others. At this time, in the little rhinoceros' heart, it had already used all the words it could think of on Ziyu. Did I say I'm here to take revenge? Ziyu said, a little speechless. This rhinoceros was really too uncultured. It didn't even give them a chance to speak before it started to roar loudly. It was really impolite. Then what are you doing here? You even threw water into my cave. Don't you know that I hate water the most? The little rhinoceros glared at him with its big eyes and roared unhappily. I just wanted to call you up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have just thrown a small water ball. Ziyu reminded. Oh, that's true. The little rhinoceros thought for a moment, and felt that Ziyu's words were not without reason. However, it was still very angry, because it hated water too much. Water was simply its natural enemy. Then why did you call me up here? Although it was still a little dissatisfied with Ziyu's method of calling it up, it could already calm down a little. I didn't call you, it's my family's young miss. Ziyu pointed at Lung Ruoxue. Ever since he had decided to leave with Lung Ruoxue and the rest, he had considered himself Lung Ruoxue's subordinate. Oh, human, why did you call me up? The little rhinoceros glared at Lung Ruoxue and asked. I just want to inform you that this nightmare forest is now my territory, and you are a resident of my territory. So, you must follow the order of the territory and not do anything that will harm my territory. Lung Ruoxue said directly. Your territory? On what basis? The little rhinoceros understood that the entire forest, including the place it was living in, belonged to the human in front of it. So this human was here to declare his sovereignty. However, it had lived here for so long, why should it give up its place to a human? No matter how it thought about it, it felt that it was unfair. Just because I'm the master of this place, if you want to continue staying here, then you'd better behave yourself and not cause any trouble. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Lung Ruoxue warned. I've lived here for so long, but I've never heard of this place having an owner. I won't admit it. The little rhinoceros turned its head and said arrogantly. You don't want to admit? I'll make you admit it. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she gave Fengde and the rest a look. Fengde and the rest understood her meaning, and immediately surrounded the little rhinoceros, giving it a good beating. By the time the little rhinoceros reacted, its body was already covered in wounds. If it wasn't for its thick skin, it wouldn't have been able to withstand the group of barbarian humans. Fengde and the others also knew the thickness of the rhinoceros' skin, so they didn't show any mercy. Not long after, the little rhinoceros was beaten until it cried out in pain. You bunch of barbarians, what's the point of ganging up on me? If you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. One-on-one? Do you think we're stupid? I'm going to fight you one-on-one, and you're not dead yet. I'm afraid we'll be exhausted to death. Also, whose grandfather are you? You dare to call yourself a grandfather in front of your father? Who else should I beat up if not you? Fengde said as he punched. The divine power in his hand gathered in his fist, and he hit the rhinoceros again and again. I'm angry. The little rhinoceros roared and suddenly disappeared without a trace. Where was the rhinoceros? How did it disappear? Fengde's face was full of question marks, and his eyes couldn't help but drift to Ziyu. It ran away. Ziyu's forehead was filled with black lines. These people actually forced that arrogant rhinoceros to use its ultimate move. They were really powerful. Moreover, when he saw the miserable state of the rhinoceros, he couldn't help rejoicing. It was fortunate that he hadn't fought with them like this silly rhinoceros. Otherwise, Wouldn't the rhinoceros' fate be his? It managed to escape under our tight defense. It seems like it has some ability. Fonda praised. Beasts basically all have life-saving tricks. And the move that the rhinoceros used just now is one of its own talents. In a situation where it can't beat its opponent, it can be said to have tried and failed time and time again. It once used that move against me. Ziyu said with a light smile. Oh, what should he do now? We actually let that sly rhinoceros escape. We were too careless. Fonda said in a very vexed manner. Chapter 12:24. Rhinoceros Battle 1. If you run away, you can only force it back up. However, that rhinoceros is very cunning. It knows that it can't beat you, so I'm afraid it won't come up so easily this time. Ziyu said with understanding. Then she threw a few large water balls into the cave. However, there was no reaction at all in the cave. It could be seen how firm the will of the giant rhinoceros was. It had made up its mind not to come up. Fuck. Didn't it hate water the most? Why didn't it roll up after so much water was poured down? Fonda roared in anger. What a cunning creature. Although the rhinoceros looked stupid, he didn't expect it to be so scheming. I quite admire its patience. He's a beastie who can accomplish great things. Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but tease when she saw Fonda's flustered and exasperated look. Miss, you're still praising it? Fuck, I'll go down and pull it up myself. Fonda said in anger. After he finished speaking, he was about to jump down again. However, this time he was pulled back by Lung Ruoxua. What's the hurry? Look at how calm that giant rhinoceros is. You have to learn from it. You can't be so anxious about everything. Lung Ruoxua advised. Oh. Fonda replied unwillingly, but he hated the giant rhinoceros to death in his heart. When the giant rhinoceros came up, he would beat it up so badly that even its mother wouldn't be able to recognize it. The premise was that it had to have a mother. Miss, what should we do now? That damn rhinoceros is not coming up. Fonda couldn't help but ask. Continue to fill it with water. There's not enough water now, so of course it won't come up. Lung Ruoxua laughed evilly. Now that there was still space for the giant rhinoceros to live in the underground cave, it was naturally unwilling to come up and throw its life away for the sake of its safety. However, what if it could no longer stay down there? At that time it would have no choice but to remember. Yes. Under Lung Ruoxia's command, everyone with the water attribute threw water balls into the cave. Not long after, the water in the cave slowly surged up. After throwing water balls for a while, the water had already overflowed the cave and flowed towards the other flat ground. It's almost time, let's stop. Lung Ruoxua chuckled and asked Ziyu. Is there any other exit in this giant rhinoceros cave? No, this place is surrounded by mountains and hard rocks, so the giant rhinoceros can only come out from here, unless it would rather wait for death than come out. Ziyu said with a smile, but in his heart, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He was once again shocked by these people's big spending. Oh my god! If it was a giant rhinoceros, and the cave had been filled with so much water, it would have come out to surrender long ago. How could it still hide in the cave? When he thought of this, he was somewhat impressed by the rhinoceros' patience. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw a black shadow scuttle out of the hole. It was the flustered and angry black mimicked rhinoceros. The little black rhinoceros was floating in the air, staring at them with its eyes burning with fire. They stared back at it, not to be outdone. Both sides stared at each other for a long time before the little rhinoceros opened its mouth angrily and said, "Despicable humans, you actually destroyed Grandpa's home. You really deserve to die. I won't let you off." With that, the little black rhinoceros suddenly grew to the size of a small mountain before it stopped growing. When Fonda and the others saw this, they couldn't help but laugh. I say, little rhino, do you think that your mimicry appearance is too small and not enough for us to beat up, so you want to make it bigger so that it's more convenient for us to attack? You're so considerate. Reading on Maibo XNO Velcom, please. It is. You're such a considerate beastie. Well, definitely love you well. Everyone spoke at once, angering the giant rhinoceros that was floating in the air. Detestable. How detestable. Grandpa is so angry. I'm going to kill you all. The giant rhinoceros roared in anger. After that, it swooped down from the sky and attacked Fengda and the others. However, Fengda and the others were not in a hurry. They just casually added a layer of defense in front of them and waited for the giant rhinoceros to walk into the trap. After the giant rhinoceros landed from the sky, it swept its huge, thick tail, trying to sweep Fengda and the others away. However, it did not expect to hit nothing, which made it even more angry. Cunning humans, don't hide if you have the guts. The giant rhinoceros roared in anger. Little rhinoceros, you're wrong. You're clearly only allowing the state officials to light the lamps, not allowing the commoners to set them on fire. You can use your talent to escape, but we can't hide. What kind of logic is this? Fengda retorted sarcastically with a look of disdain on his face. However, his words made the giant rhinoceros furious, and all the new and old grudges surged up. Is that the same? I only have myself, but you have so many people. If I didn't run, I would have been beaten into meat paste by you. Humph. Fight me one-on-one if you dare. The giant rhinoceros provoked. We'll have a one-on-one just because you said so. That would be so embarrassing for me. And also, little rhinoceros. If you still call yourself grandpa, I'll beat you up until your grandpa can't recognize you. Fengda warned. You dare. If you have the ability, come and beat me up. Umph. I'm not afraid of you. The giant rhinoceros said stubbornly, its bull-like temper rising. Hee. You're the one who asked us to beat you up, so don't cry. Fengda said with a smirk. Then he gave his brothers a look, and everyone understood and attacked the giant rhinoceros. Fengda and the others divided the work and worked together, attacking from top to bottom. Fists and divine skills flew out at the same time, all of which smashed into the giant rhinoceros body, causing it to cry out in pain again. Despicable humans, you dare to gang up on me again? Ah, how detestable. The giant rhinoceros cried out in pain, but unfortunately, no one paid any attention to it, much less felt any heartache. Did we say we wouldn't gang up on you? We are one entity, and there is no distinction between us. Therefore, we will naturally share our blessings, our difficulties, and our fights. Fengda explained with a smile. Haha, that's right. Chengwu also laughed out loud. The divine skill in his hand smashed towards the giant rhinoceros as if he didn't care about his life. As he smashed, he didn't forget to stuff medicinal pills into his mouth to replenish the divine power he had used up. It couldn't be helped. This giant rhinoceros' skin was too thick. They had to fight a long battle. The master of the Ning family and the great elder, who were watching the battle from the side, could not help but feel embarrassed when they saw Fengda and the others' shameless fighting style. They thought to themselves, a fight can actually be fought like this, sigh. Why are these little rascals so wasteful? They had lived for so long, but they had never seen anyone force medicinal pills into their mouths while fighting. What a prodigal! Chapter 1225. Rhinoceros Battle, 2. When other people were fighting, it was not bad to be able to eat a medicinal pill to replenish their divine power. But they threw large amounts into their mouths. It really made people envious, jealous, and hateful. And those who had similar thoughts as them naturally included Ziyu, who had opened his eyes. He had lived for so long, but he had never seen anyone eat medicinal pills in this way. Could it be that medicinal pills in the immortal realm were not worth much now? Actually, this was mainly because he had not been with Lung Ruoxue and the rest for long. Hence, he naturally did not know that Lung Ruoxue's subordinates and the beasts would eat pills for fun when they had nothing to do because they tasted pretty good. As for Lu Feng and Mo Yan and the others, they were much calmer, because in their eyes, whatever these people did was normal. Even if other people thought that it was incredible, it was normal for them to do it. When Bing Yao saw this, he praised Fengda and the others, and he couldn't help but cheer for them. Hee. Come on boys, don't embarrass your miss and me. Beat this little rhinoceros to the ground, woo. The rhinoceros skin is quite good for making armor. Despicable humans, you actually want to use Grandpa's skin to make armor. Grandpa is really angry. Ah, I'm angry. When the giant rhinoceros heard Bing Yao's words, it couldn't care less about the pain and couldn't help but roar. You're angry? So you weren't angry before. Bing Yao said in realization. Little rhinoceros, show me your anger. I've never seen an angry rhinoceros before. Bing Yao urged. After that, he took out a piece of red cloth from somewhere and spread it in front of him. Come quickly. I have your favorite red color, come on. Come quickly. Bing Yao continued to urge him and got into position, ready for the bullfight. When Lung Ruoxue saw her senior brother's actions, beads of sweat started to fall from her forehead. She thought to herself, could it be that senior brother has been to my previous world? Otherwise, how would he know to use red cloth to fight bulls? However, not all bulls like to be beaten, right? Moreover, she had never heard of anyone using a red cloth to fight a rhinoceros. That was a rhinoceros, okay? Bing Yao is quite funny. The demon at the side couldn't help but laugh when he saw this. Yup. Lung Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and said helplessly. This was not the first time she had seen her senior brother's antics. Just as Lung Ruoxue finished her sentence, the furious giant rhinoceros only said 2 words. Detestable. He found a chance to pass Feng Da and the others, and pounced on Bing Yao. However, it naturally ended up pouncing on nothing. Bing Yao turned around elegantly, then shook the red flag in his hand at the giant rhinoceros. Little rhinoceros, come on. I have faith in you. Reading on mybo.xnovel.com, please. Detestable. The giant rhinoceros' nostrils were exhaling white air as it continuously kicked the ground with its huge hooves. Then a whoosh sound was heard. Then he charged towards Bing Yao, but he missed again. Damn human, don't hide if you have the guts. The giant rhinoceros saw that it had missed its target twice, and the anger in its heart began to rise. In addition, Feng Da and the others were staring at it from the side, which made it feel even more pressured. Its innate life-saving skill could not be used frequently, so it could only fight them head-on now. Fortunately, its skin was rough and thick. Otherwise, if it were any other beast, it would have been tortured to death by them long ago. These abominable humans, abominable humans. It couldn't help but curse in its heart. Little rhinoceros, do you know the rules? If I don't dodge, can I still be called a bullfight? Bullfighting, the one I'm fighting is naturally you. If I were to be beaten by you, wouldn't I become a laughing stock? Bing Yao laughed evilly. Bullfight? Damn it, you actually think I'm a bull? Detestable. The giant rhinoceros' bell-like eyes narrowed in anger. The 2 streams of white gas that came out of its nostrils became even more intense. This also meant that it was even more furious. You've always been awesome, Bing Yao said angrily. I'm not a bull. The giant rhinoceros roared in anger. In order to prove that it was different from the other bulls, it charged towards Bing Yao again. Bing Yao laughed to himself. This silly rhinoceros, you still dare to say that you're not a bull? If you're not a bull, then why are you always running to my side? I don't have any grass for you to eat. Just like that, the giant rhinoceros charged at Bing Yao again and again. Although it failed every time, it was not discouraged. It worked hard with an indomitable spirit until it was too tired to run anymore. However, when it lay on the ground and panted heavily, its big eyes were still staring at Bing Yao fiercely. Now, its hatred for this man who was as pretty as a gigolo had surpassed Feng Da and the others. Bing Yao saw that the giant rhinoceros was so tired that it fell to the ground, and consoled it considerately. Little rhinoceros, rest well. Don't be in a hurry to get up. I will wait for you. Humph. The giant rhinoceros turned its head and decided not to look at it anymore. Otherwise, it would become the first rhinoceros in the godly mainland to be angered to death. It didn't want to become a huge disgrace to the rhinoceros clan. Little rhinoceros, don't ignore me. Come be good. Talk to me. Bing Yao saw the giant rhinoceros turn its head and couldn't help but smile and open his mouth to coax. However, his words did not receive any response. Feng Da and the others were all speechless, but they still admired Bing Yao. As expected of her senior brother. They had been beating it up for so long, but they hadn't been able to cause much damage to the little rhinoceros. However, Bing Yao just took out a piece of red cloth and shook it a few times, and the silly rhinoceros was so tired that it fell to the ground. It was unbelievable. In fact, what they didn't know was that the rhinoceros was tired, but more than that, it was angry. It was both tired and angry, so the rhinoceros fell. Little rhinoceros, quickly get up and continue playing with me. It's rare for me to see a bull, so you can't disappoint me. Little rhinoceros, don't be lazy, quickly get up. Otherwise, I'll kill all the female rhinos in the forest and make sure you can't find a wife. Little rhinoceros, quickly get up. If you continue to be lazy, I'll make sure you can't be a male beast. Let's see how you're going to carry on the family line after I kill you, humph. Chapter 12:26. Battle of the Rhinoceros 3. Bing Yao saw that the rhinoceros was ignoring him, so he had to coax and threaten it. However, he had already told it that it would not be able to find a wife, and he even said that he would kill it. The rhinoceros was still playing dead, which made him a little angry. When everyone heard what Bing Yao said, cold sweat started to drip down from their foreheads. They thought to themselves, strong. What a strong man. Looking at this immortal-like man, how could he say such evil words? This was truly too inconceivable. Could this be the so-called, you can't judge a book by its cover? In fact, the giant rhinoceros on the ground did not want to ignore Bing Yao, but it was so angry that it could not speak. It was known that a beast like it cared the most about the mother beast and the continuation of its family line. However, this despicable man in front of it wanted to take away both of them. It was really unbearable, but it could not beat him. Woo! What should it do? The giant rhinoceros kept thinking and thinking in its heart, but it still couldn't think of a good way to deal with this man. So, at this time, it was quite depressed. After thinking for a long time, the giant rhinoceros' strength had almost recovered. It opened its eyes and saw that everyone had found a place to sit down and rest. No one was paying attention to it, so it wanted to sneak away. Woo! It couldn't beat these people, but it should be fine to leave this place, right? Although it had lived here for a long time and had deep feelings for this place, it was still outnumbered. If it continued to stay here, it might be killed by that hateful man. This was the thing it cared about the most, so for the sake of its descendants, it should leave as soon as possible. At the same time, the giant rhinoceros had already started to move. It was quietly crawling on the ground, crawling and crawling. When it felt that it had crawled far away, it stood up from the ground and prepared to escape. However, its every move was seen by everyone, and when they saw the hill-like behemoth moving on the ground, they did not remind it that it was too big for it to sneak away. Instead, they watched as the smiling giant rhinoceros rubbed against the ground like a snail. Young miss, when do we take action? This self-conceited little rhinoceros is about to escape. Fonda was speechless as he looked at the rhino's clumsy movements. He didn't know what to say. He had never seen anyone who wanted to escape and still maintain such a huge body. It was impossible for people not to notice it in this state. He was really helpless. Could he say that this little rhinoceros was smart for a while, but confused for a lifetime? Don't worry, let it crawl for a while. Aren't you touched to see it so careful? Lung Ruoshua chuckled and teased, haha. This rhinoceros was really too funny. She really didn't know how it thought of this. She looked at this little rhinoceros' actions and almost laughed in her heart. Don't worry, it won't be able to run away. It'll know that everything it has done has been in vain. Bing Yao said mysteriously. He was happy to see the little rhino run away. Seeing that they were so confident, Fonda was happy to continue watching the show. He believed that the young lady would not let the little rhinoceros run away. The little giant rhinoceros sneakily crawled for a while, thinking that its actions were very secretive and that no one had noticed it. It was secretly happy in its heart, but suddenly it felt as if it had hit something. It raised its head and found that there was a thin, almost transparent film in front of it. It stretched out a fingernail and poked it. The film was very elastic and couldn't be broken no matter what. Woo, what the hell was this? How could it be like this? The little rhinoceros wanted to cry but had no tears. It was very unwilling in its heart. Could it be that everything it had done had been in vain? No. It had crawled so far with great difficulty, and it definitely couldn't give up halfway. It had to leave this place and stay far away from these terrifying demons. While he was thinking, the giant little rhinoceros used the horn on its head to hit the film, but the film did not break at all, not even a ripple was left. However, the little rhinoceros would not give up easily. It used the horn on its head to hit the film again and again. After a long time, the transparent film was still intact. Seeing this result, the giant small rhinoceros was furious. Fuck, those humans bullied it, and this thin film also bullied it. It's really too hateful, humph. It didn't believe that it couldn't break this damn thing. The little rhinoceros was furious. The consequences were very serious. It gathered all its strength into its horn, and then rushed towards the thin film. Reading on myboxno.com, please. The membrane in front of the little rhino was extremely elastic and extremely tough. The little rhino's momentum was completely reflected back, and with a loud dong sound, the little rhino that had been reflected back fell heavily to the ground. How pitiful. How painful is this? Sueju couldn't help but click her tongue when she heard the loud noise. However, she quite admired the patience of the little rhinoceros. If it were her, she would have turned around and left. It's fine. Its skin is thick, so it won't be damaged. Lin Yuan, who was at the side, said with a smile. Miss, when are we going to see it? Fengde also asked. I'm waiting. Lung Ruoxia said with a smile. All right, he said. Fengde nodded, and the crowd continued to watch the show. The giant little rhinoceros was more stubborn than they had thought. After its first attempt failed, it quickly got up from the ground and continued to attack. From this, it could be seen how determined it was to escape. However, the more it wanted to escape, the more it couldn't. The thin film seemed to be deliberately going against it. No matter how much strength it used, it couldn't break it. Half a day's time passed by very quickly. Lung Ruoxia and the rest had seen enough of the fun, so everyone started to prepare lunch. The giant little rhinoceros, who was still struggling with the transparent film, felt even more hungry after smelling the fragrance of the food. Its stomach also growled. It knew that it was hungry. The giant little rhinoceros, who was as tired as a dead dog, turned its head when it smelled the fragrance of the food. It just happened to see the humans that it hated so much eating and drinking, and it was even angrier. Fuck. These abominable humans were actually eating. It was still hungry. How could they eat? The more the little rhinoceros thought about it, the more it felt that it wasn't right. It was so impulsive that it strode over to Lung Ruoxia and the others with its four pillar-like thick legs. At this moment, it had even forgotten its original intention, and it didn't even remember that it wanted to escape. Despicable humans. How can you eat in front of your grandpa? He was really too evil. I'm confiscating the food now. The giant rhinoceros had forgotten its fear and its goal. In its eyes, there was only the hot and fragrant food. In its heart, it was constantly shouting, I want to eat. Why can't we eat in front of you? Aren't you planning to escape? You still care if we eat or not? Lung Ruoxia teased. This rhinoceros was really interesting. Why was it so naive? How did you know that I was trying to escape? The giant little rhinoceros was shocked and quickly asked, Woo, could it be that my thoughts have been discovered by them? That's impossible, right? It thought it had done it flawlessly, so how could it have been discovered? These cunning humans must be trying to trick it. They must be. It couldn't help but think that it was self-righteous. Weren't you trying to escape just now? Lung Ruoxia chuckled as she asked. No. Of course not. Why would I run away? You've misunderstood me. The little rhinoceros quickly denied it. Woo. Even if you beat it to death, it would not admit it. I'll never admit it. Then you committed suicide just now? Lung Ruoxia's beautiful face was filled with question marks. My head is a little itchy. The little rhinoceros said blindly. Woo. It looked like they really saw it. What should they do? It seemed that it could only deny it. Itchy head. Do you need my help? Lung Ruoxia asked with a smile that was not a smile. That beautiful smile on her face caused a chill to run down the little rhinoceros' spine. Ooh. Bad guy. Scoundrel. He was scaring it again. Although it was a little afraid of these humans, it was not scared. The little rhinoceros thought to itself with a backbone. However, the words that it blurted out did not have any backbone at all. No need. I can handle it myself. You just have to give me the food now. I'm confiscating it. The little rhinoceros' words were soft at first, but the more it spoke, the more stubborn it became. Perhaps it was because it was too hungry, it couldn't care about anything else. In any case, at this time, there was only the fragrant food in its eyes. Confiscate it? Why? If we give it to you just because you want it, then we'll lose face. Lung Ruoxua said, amused. This is my territory. If you eat on my territory, I have every reason to confiscate it. The little rhinoceros thought for a long time before it said, thinking that it had sufficient reason. Eating on its territory and craving it, humph. It was really detestable. Little rhinoceros, do you still remember that I told you before that this entire forest, including the 3 mountains around it, now belongs to me? So we're not on your territory, but mine. So from now on you have to listen to us. Lung Ruoxua reminded him with a smile. On what basis? I'm the king of this mountain, and I've always been the one in charge here. The little rhinoceros roared. It had been king and lord here for many years and no one had dared to find trouble with it. Now this human was actually telling it to listen to her. This was absolutely not allowed. I'm in charge now. If you're still not convinced, then we'll settle it with force. Lung Ruoxua laughed evilly. Force? Good. Martial strength is fine, but you can't fight in a group. I request a one-on-one fight. I want him to fight me one-on-one. The little rhinoceros raised its huge hoof and pointed at the immortal-like Bing Yao. This hateful man had treated it like a bull for so long. If it didn't take revenge, it wouldn't be a rhinoceros. It swore to avenge the rhinoceros clan. Seeing the little rhino's choice, everyone's expression was very strange. They didn't know what to say. Ai. Poor little rhinoceros. You didn't use this little trick in the right place. He actually chose the strongest one among them. Wasn't this clearly looking for a beating? Moreover, this person was its own choice. If it lost, it wouldn't dare to go back on its word, right? Everyone secretly sighed to themselves. Are you sure you want to have a one-on-one fight with me? Bing Yao looked at the proud little rhino in surprise and confirmed. Chapter 1227. Terrifying Plant 1. Of course I, your grandfather, want to fight you one-on-one. The little giant rhinoceros said arrogantly. It also wanted to fight this hateful man like how he had fought it just now. It wanted to let him have a taste of its power. Ai. Since you insist, then I'll have to respectfully comply. However, what if you lose? Bing Yao asked with a helpless smile. I won't lose. The giant rhinoceros said confidently. It was a 4th-class sacred beast, and the detestable man in front of it was a high-level divine being, which was about the same as it. However, its defense was extremely abnormal, so it was very confident that it could defeat this pretty boy. However, when it really fought with Bing Yao, it realized that it had made a huge mistake. I like confident men or male beasts. Come. Little rhino, I won't let you down. Bing Yao smiled and walked out from the crowd. The man and beast stood face to face. Bing Yao and the giant little rhino stared at each other. Then he took out the red cloth and spread it in front of him. The little rhino was furious when it saw the red cloth. Damn it, who asked you to take out that cloth again? Quickly put it away. Don't let this grandpa see it again. The giant rhinoceros roared angrily. Its eyes as big as copper bells were wide open, and white gas was constantly coming out of its nostrils. Didn't you want to fight me one-on-one? This is my weapon. Do you want me to fight you empty-handed? Bing Yao smirked and asked calmly. Change your weapon. I don't want to see that thing. The little rhinoceros' eyes were burning with fire as it roared. I'm sorry, I only have this one weapon. Bing Yao shrugged his shoulders and said innocently. That. The little rhinoceros was so angry that it couldn't speak. More and more white gas came out of its nostrils. It was obvious that its anger had already risen. Then what? Little rhinoceros. Come quickly, I'm waiting for you here. Bing Yao shook the red cloth in his hand and said to the little rhinoceros provocatively. The little rhinoceros looked at the sea of red in front of it, and the blood in its body was completely stimulated. Red. It hated red the most. Humph. I won't let you off. At this time, The little rhinoceros' heart was completely occupied by red, and it couldn't think of anything else. The heat wave in its brain was also getting more and more, churning in its mind. In an instant, everyone saw the huge little rhinoceros flying towards Bing Yao like an arrow. Bing Yao calmly shook the red cloth in his hand, and did an elegant turn to avoid the collision of the giant little rhinoceros. Hiss! The little rhinoceros stopped its huge hooves and turned around to fly towards Bing Yao. Its huge hooves stirred up a cloud of dust on the ground. In the blink of an eye, everyone was covered in the dust. Reading on mybo.xno.com, please. Cough cough. Everyone coughed a few times and quickly covered their mouths and noses to prevent themselves from inhaling too much dust. When the dust slowly dispersed, everyone released their hands from covering their mouths and noses, and began to complain in unison. Damn little rhinoceros, you've gone too far. You actually want to choke us to death. Lin Yuan was the first to speak indignantly. That's right, it must have done it on purpose. Fonda also agreed. Miss, let's not let it go. Let's skin it and make armor for each of us. Fonda suggested. Their voices were extremely loud, as if they were afraid that the angry little rhino couldn't hear them. I feel that this little rhinoceros is a good guard. With it guarding our door, those who don't have eyes won't dare to come and cause trouble. Lung Ruoxia played along. Yup, this little rhinoceros has quite a variety of uses, so let it look after our home first. When it's old, we'll skin it and make armor for us. Naturally, we will sell it. Young lady, what do you think of this arrangement? After Fonda heard Lung Ruoxia's words, he pondered for a moment before speaking again. Yes, it's decided then. Lung Ruoxia agreed with a smirk. Their conversation naturally entered the little rhinoceros' ears without missing a word. The little rhinoceros, who was on the verge of collapse from the stimulation of red, heard their words again. The anger in its heart multiplied. In the blink of an eye, the original dark skin was faintly overflowing with red. It could be seen how angry it was. However, it vented all its anger on Bing Yao. It was all this detestable pretty boy's fault. Otherwise, how could it have the opportunity to be humiliated by these hateful humans? The little rhinoceros was filled with hatred. At the same time, it gathered all its power into its head and charged towards Bing Yao. When Bing Yao saw the little rhino running towards him like a madman, a beautiful smile appeared on his face. He jumped up and dodged the attack. The little rhinoceros did not want to miss its attack, so it kicked another huge leg towards Bing Yao. Bing Yao saw it and grabbed the huge hoof with his hand. This hoof is quite fat. It should be delicious. Bing Yao concluded after some observation. Damn human, let go of my foot. The three-legged little rhinoceros roared in anger. Woo! It doesn't feel good to be unable to maintain balance. Damn human, I won't let him off. You were the one who sent your foot here. I thought you gave it to me. Oh. How can you make it taste good? Bing Yao frowned and said with a conflicted expression. Despicable humans. That detestable pretty boy. The little rhinoceros struggled with all its might, trying to pull its feet out of Bing Yao's hands. Ugh. When Lung Ruoxia and the rest heard the words pretty boy come out of the little rhino's mouth, they knew that this was bad news. This little rhino was definitely going to be in trouble, because no man would like to hear these words. When they thought of this, they couldn't help but look at the little rhino with pity. When Bing Yao heard the little rhino's words, his expression remained the same, but his eyes became even deeper. A beautiful smile hung on his face as he asked softly, Did you just call me a pretty boy? That's right. It's me, your grandfather, who said it. You pretty boy, let go of my foot. The furious little rhinoceros didn't sense the approaching danger and still shouted. Chapter 12:28. Terrifying Plant 2. Good. As you wish. Am letting go. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand and the little rhino's mountain-like body fell back. With a loud dong sound, the little rhino fell on its back. Its forelegs were as strong as pillars, and it kept kicking. However, looking at the way it was moving, it would not be able to get up without help. Detestable. He's really too detestable. The little rhinoceros lay on the ground as steady as Mount Tai. its mouth still cursing nonstop. Little Rhinoceros, you're really too rude. I've already let you go. How can you still curse people? Bing Yao said unhappily. Then he raised his hand and an ice skill flew out from his hand, sealing the little rhino's mouth. Whoa! The little rhinoceros felt a cold sensation on its mouth, but it couldn't say anything. It could only stare at Bing Yao with its big eyes. Little Rhinoceros, this is your punishment for scolding me. Bing Yao laughed. Then he released a gust of wind from his hand, and the little rhino that was lying on the ground was lifted up. After a somersault, it landed firmly on all four limbs. It finally didn't have to lie on the ground with its four legs up. After the little rhinoceros got up, its mouth was still tightly sealed in ice. It wanted to use its hooves to push the ice away, but it found that its hooves were a little too big to reach its mouth. This made it depressed. Ooh, damn human, you don't dare to fight with me with real weapons, so you use these little tricks. You're too despicable. It couldn't help but curse in its heart. Woo! The little rhino barked at Bing Yao, telling him to let go of her. Seeing this, Bing Yao hit the little rhino's mouth with another red skill. The ice melted in an instant, but the red skill burned the little rhino's mouth again. It was so painful that it cried out. Argh! It hurts! It hurts! Damned human! You're doing this on purpose. The little rhinoceros stomped its feet in pain, but it couldn't help but roar angrily. I did it on purpose. What can you do to me? Bing Yao said with a calm smile. Damn it! Do you dare to fight me with real weapons? Don't use those little tricks anymore. The little rhinoceros asked loudly. Little rhinoceros, you must not have heard that all is fair in war. What was a real sword and spear? What could be considered a small trick? In a battle, as long as you can win, you can use any means. You can't blame anyone. Bing Yao said with a look of disdain. Then, do you dare to do it for real with me? The little rhinoceros asked with its eyes wide open. Little rhinoceros, I was just playing with you. But since you want to fight me seriously, then I'll fulfill your wish. Bing Yao chuckled. Good. Pretty boy. Little one, prepare to die. The little rhinoceros roared and charged towards Bing Yao again. Reading on Mybo XNO Velcom please. In fact, the rhinoceros fighting methods were very limited. They were not good at skill attacks. They liked to use physical collisions, relying on their tyrannical bodies and super strong defense to wear down the enemy. This was the most common method of the rhinoceros clan, and often the most effective method. However, it was a pity. If it was someone else, this attack might have worked, but it was against Bing Yao, a man that even the master of the Ning family couldn't do anything to. Would he care about a little rhinoceros? Facing the attacks of the little rhino, Bing Yao only dodged left and right, and the little rhino was already exhausted. Damn it, don't just hide, alright? Seeing that its attack was ineffective against the man in front of it, the little rhinoceros became even angrier. I want dodge. If I'm hit by you, I won't be able to keep my little life. Do you think I'm stupid? Bing Yao said with a smile. If you keep dodging like this, how long are we going to fight? The little rhinoceros was very depressed. Damn it, it couldn't even touch the corner of this man's clothes, but it had already exhausted itself to death. When you're exhausted and you admit defeat, it'll win. Bing Yao said angrily. Good. Just you wait. The little rhino couldn't take it anymore. It raised its giant hooves and stomped on the ground twice, then gathered its strength and charged towards Bing Yao. Little rhinoceros, your attack is too simple. Do you know anything else other than crashing into people? Bing Yao looked at the little rhinoceros and said unhappily, this is our rhinoceros clan's most effective attack method. If it wasn't to deal with you, I wouldn't have used my full strength. So you should feel deeply honored. The little rhinoceros said with an arrogant look. Oh, then I have to thank you. This time Bing Yao didn't dodge. Instead, he put one of his hands on the rhino's horn and blocked the attack with his bare hands. Little rhinoceros, I didn't dodge this time. You can't do anything to me either, can you? Bing Yao asked with a smile. Despicable human. Quickly take your hand away. The little rhinoceros horn was grabbed by someone, and it was like its entire body was being controlled, making it very uncomfortable. Are you sure you want me to take my hand off? Bing Yao asked. Quickly take it away. The little rhinoceros roared. Good. I'm taking it away. After Bing Yao finished speaking, he let go of the rhino's hand. Everyone saw the rhino jump into the air and flip a few times in the air. Then it landed heavily on the ground with its head facing down. The ground was hit by the rhino's huge body, and it created a deep pit. Everyone's forehead was full of black lines. They walked to the deep pit and looked down. They saw the little rhinoceros' round big buttocks exposed outside, and most of its body was buried in the soil. After a long time, the little rhinoceros, half buried in the soil, was still motionless. He's dead? Eh? What a pity. I originally wanted to let it guard our house. Feng Die's face was full of regret. Yup. However, it's good that they're dead. At least we have something to buy our armors. Lin Yuan also said. Its body is so huge. I think its meat can be sold for a lot of money. Sueju said like a little money grubber. Yes, miss. When are we going to get it out? Feng De asked, his face full of anticipation. Chapter 1229. A Terrifying Plant 3. Don't worry, make sure it's dead. Can't you see its butt is still shaking? Lung Ruoxua laughed as she spoke. She was filled with sympathy for this unlucky rhinoceros. Why did it find its senior brother who liked to play pranks? Miss, let me help it. After Feng De finished speaking, he took out a dagger from his storage ring, aimed at the right position, and threw it at the little rhinoceros' round butt. With a poochy sound, the dagger pierced into the flesh. The little rhinoceros, which was half buried in the ground, actually struggled out from the ground due to the intense pain. However, its body and head were covered in dust, leaving only a pair of big eyes that were as big as copper bells staring at Lung Ruoxua and the rest. Miss, has it been knocked silly? Seeing that the little rhinoceros didn't speak for a long time, Lu Tao couldn't help but ask curiously. In her eyes, this little rhinoceros was a chatterbox. It was really abnormal for it to not speak for so long. You're the silly one. Your whole family is dumbfounded. Hearing Green Peach's words, the little rhinoceros finally reacted and roared angrily. Little rhinoceros, didn't your mother teach you that trouble comes from the mouth? Lung Ruoxua asked with a faint smile. What a little fellow who couldn't see the situation clearly. Fortunately, it had met them. Otherwise, if it had been someone else, it would have become someone else's lunch. I don't have a mother, the little rhinoceros said viciously. After that, it turned its eyes to its biggest enemy, Bing Yao, and roared. Damn human pretty boy, you can't bully our rhinoceros clan like this. Then what do you want me to do? I'll give you one more chance. Bing Yao said helplessly. He reached out and pulled the huge rhino out of the pit, and threw it on the ground. The little rhinoceros got up from the ground and glared at Bing Yao before attacking again. But this time, Bing Yao didn't want to play with it anymore. It was going to be dark if he continued playing, so he had to make this stubborn little guy convinced. With that in mind, Bing Yao threw out both of his fists and hit the little rhino's body. The little rhino cried out in pain. Not long after, the rhino's thick skin was covered in blood, and its horn was broken into two. After a long time, looking at the dying little rhinoceros on the ground, Bing Yao smiled and walked in front of it. He squatted down and asked, Little rhinoceros, are you convinced now? Do you want to continue? No. I don't want to, you're a pervert. Although the little rhinoceros was unwilling, it was indeed not this pretty boy's opponent. Woo! How could this pretty boy be so powerful? It had really misjudged. At this moment, it was so regretful that its intestines had turned green. You're calling me a pervert? Bing Yao squinted his eyes, clearly unhappy. In fact, he felt wronged. He had only beaten the little rhinoceros a few times. How did it become a pervert? The real pervert was Lung Ruoxua, okay? Reading on Maibo XNO Velcom, please. No. It won't. I mean, you're too amazing. The little rhinoceros quickly changed its words, its little heart trembling in fear. Then why are you still calling me a pretty boy? Bing Yao asked again with a threatening look on his face. It was as if he was saying, if you dare to call me a pretty boy again, I'll send you to hell. How can you be a pretty boy? How can there be such a powerful pretty boy like you? the little rhinoceros said with tears in its eyes. Although it looked very similar, it couldn't help but add in its heart. But now it knew that appearance could lie, it swore. In the future, it would never judge a book by its cover, that is, if it could still live. Then do you still call yourself Grandpa? Bing Yao continued to ask. I don't dare. I don't dare. You're my grandpas. You're all my grandpas. The little rhinoceros said loudly without any backbone. Damn rhinoceros, who are you calling your grandfather? When Lu Tao heard the term grandfather, she was obviously very dissatisfied. They are grandpas and you are grandmas. This should be fine, right? The little rhinoceros said with a crying face. Woo. These people were really too difficult to serve. Pfft. When Fengda and the others heard the little rhino's words, they could not help but laugh. However, Green Peach was even angrier. Damn it, who wants to be your grandmother? Green Peach was so angry that she threw the divine skill in her hand at the little rhinoceros' body as if she did not care about her life. The poor little rhinoceros had never thought that it would be beaten up by a man disguised as a pretty boy. And now it was going to be beaten up by a tigress. It was so depressed that it wanted to vomit blood. Moreover, the injuries on its body were even more serious. Ooh. Who would pity it? Don't bully this vulnerable group of people. After Green Peach had vented enough, the poor little rhinoceros was finally free. At this time, it was so weak that it couldn't even speak. At this moment, Bing Yao took out a pill from his storage ring and stuffed it into the little rhino's mouth. In the blink of an eye, the injuries on the little rhino's body were completely healed, and the broken horn on its head grew back. It stood up from the ground and looked at the people in front of it with vigilance and fear. It didn't dare to speak anymore. Just now, because of the word grandmother, it had suffered another round of physical pain, so it had to learn from its mistakes. Ooh, it was really too pitiful. The little rhinoceros couldn't help but complain in its heart. Bing Yao looked at the little rhino's frightened face and couldn't help but smile. Little rhinoceros, do you still want to have a one-on-one fight with me? And no, I don't want to anymore. I'm really convinced. The little rhinoceros quickly said. Its heart was filled with endless melancholy. It really missed home. Then tell me, who will you listen to in the future? Bing Yao asked with a smile. I'll listen to you. From now on, I'll be your little brother. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. If you tell me to go east, I'll never go west. I promise I'll do what I say. Just let me go. The little rhinoceros' eyes were filled with tears as it pitifully pleaded. We didn't plan to kill you. If you were so tactful, you wouldn't have to suffer this pain. Lung Ruoxua sighed softly and said with a hint of sympathy. The little rhinoceros was speechless. Woo. It didn't know that these people were so terrifying. Otherwise, it would have been well behaved. Little rhino, since you're convinced, we won't hold it against you for offending us before. However, I want you to remember who the master of this place is. You're only a citizen of my territory. In the future, you must obey the rules of my territory. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Lung Ruoxua warned. Chapter 1230. Terrifying Plant 4, Yes. The little rhinoceros quickly nodded. Woo. It was used to living here. Although it had the thought of leaving, it was still reluctant to leave. After all, it had deep feelings for this place. Then you can just stay here. Don't cause trouble. Take the food as compensation for your beating. Go and eat. Lung Ruoxua pointed at the food that was still steaming. After she finished speaking, she prepared to lead the group away from this place. However, he had only taken a few steps when he was stopped by the confused little rhinoceros. Wait. Didn't you want me to guard your house? The little rhinoceros asked in a low voice. I'm just teasing you. Our house is very safe. We don't need Beastie to guard the house. Lung Ruoxua chuckled and left with the rest. The little rhinoceros watched as everyone's gazes left. It had an indescribable feeling in its heart. It had mixed feelings and was extremely complicated. What was wrong with it? Why was he so dispirited? It looked at its former home, which was filled with the water it hated the most. It was afraid that it would not be able to live in it for a short time. Then, It looked at the deep pit that it had smashed out. It'll stay there for the time being. At the thought of this, the little rhinoceros adjusted its state of mind and walked towards the deep pit. Of course, before it left, it naturally did not forget to destroy the food left behind by Lung Ruoxue and the others. Lung Ruoxue and the rest left the little rhinoceros residence and headed towards the next dangerous place. The next morning, they followed Xiaoxiao's guidance and found the place that Xiao Xiao had said was dangerous. This place was located in the southernmost part of the Nightmare Forest, quite a distance from the mountain where they lived. Moreover, compared with the little rhino's bear house, this place was much greener, although it was still not as good as ZUS. The plants here were mainly grass and trees were rare. They had never seen many of the plants here before. It was obvious that this was a kingdom of plants. Be careful, everyone. Lung Ruoxue reminded him. Then she pulled the demon and led the way into the dangerous plains. As they walked, Lung Ruoxue and the rest realized that there were more and more plants. Furthermore, they were all growing luxuriantly. The plants seemed to be very excited when they saw them, and they kept shaking their leaves. Are these plants welcoming us? Lu Tao asked in confusion as she looked at the plants that were swaying in front of them. Reading on Maibo Novel.com, please. They're welcoming us, but they're welcoming us to become their food. Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Her words gave everyone a huge shock. Miss, don't tell me you mean that these plants want to eat us. Fonda said in disbelief. This is what I meant. Lung Ruoxue laughed nonchalantly. Then she pointed at the grass not far away, indicating for everyone to look over. Everyone's gaze followed the direction that Lung Ruoxue was pointing at, and saw that in the hidden underbrush, the color of the ground was dark red. Furthermore, there was also a hint of blood. When everyone saw this, they suddenly felt nauseated. Miss, what's going on? Could it be that those grass are all carnivorous? Feng Die's face was full of question marks. No, but there must be some carnivorous grass here. So be careful. Lung Ruoxue reminded him again. Yes. Everyone nodded. After seeing the dark red soil, they didn't dare to let their guard down. The group walked all the way, and the deeper they went, the stronger the smell of blood became until they came to a place similar to a mountain stream. When they saw everything in front of them, they couldn't help but widen their eyes, their faces full of disbelief. In front of them, there were vines of different sizes, many of which had several small animals tied up. The small animals' faces were filled with pain, and their blood flowed endlessly to the vines that trapped them. Some of the small animals kept struggling, but the more they struggled, the more firmly the vines bound them. In the end, they became the vines' food. Miss, are these man-eating vines? Fonda could not help but ask. It can be considered a type of man-eating vine. However, they're of a much higher grade than ordinary man-eating vines, and they've already developed intelligence. Lung Ruoxue explained calmly. Chapter 1231. God Devouring Vine 1. Arg. No way. Wouldn't that make it difficult to deal with? Fonda said gloomily. He hated these flesh-eating creatures the most. Since he had encountered them, he had to destroy them. However, they already had spiritual intelligence, so it was not so easy to deal with them. It's definitely difficult to deal with. Moreover, the vines we see now aren't the main vine. So in order to deal with the man-eating vines, our first goal is to find the main vine. As long as the main vine dies, these vines will be easy to destroy. Otherwise, no matter how many we destroy, these vines will continue to grow. Lung Ruoxue explained calmly. She hated the man-eating vines as well, and she hated the smell of blood even more. Hence, these man-eating vines had to be eliminated. Miss, what should we do now? Are we still going in? Fonda couldn't help but ask. There were too many people going in, and he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to take care of them. However, if he waited outside, who knew what kind of danger there would be? So he was very conflicted. All of you go in. However, everyone must be on high alert and be on high alert. If anyone is caught by the man-eating vines, they must shout for help, in case we don't notice them. Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. It was just as Fonda had thought. It might seem safe to leave a group of people outside, but there might be unknown dangers. If that happened, they would definitely not be able to rescue them in time. Hence, it was better for everyone to enter together. Godfather, you guys have to be careful of these man-eating vines too. Lung Ruoxua reminded him again. Even though Godfather was a reverent god, he might not be able to deal with these annoying man-eating vines. After all, these man-eating vines grew in the god realm. Even the gods would be helpless against them. After some thought, Lung Ruoxua moved the fire spirit out of her bracelet. The moment the little fire spirit came out, it smelled the blood in the air and wrinkled its nose in disgust. Then it said in dissatisfaction, "Where is this place? Why are there such disgusting things here?" As the king of fire, what he hated the most was all the filthy things in the world. These vines that liked to suck blood and flesh were naturally on his blacklist. Therefore, he had to destroy them. Thinking of this, he released a big fireball without hesitation and threw it at the nearby vines. When the vines felt the fire spirit's temperature, they all cowered and shook their branches. The timid ones even let go of the small animals they had trapped and wanted to escape. However, how could the fire spirit give them the chance to escape? It threw a few more big fireballs in succession, cutting off the path of the vines and burning them to ashes in one fell swoop. "Sister, I've destroyed all those vines. It's much cleaner here, but the smell of blood is still there. I'll purify it in a while, and it'll be suitable for other plants to grow," the fire spirit said with a proud tone. "Little fire spirit, you're so capable. However, you've only destroyed a portion of it. We haven't found the main vine yet." Lung Ruoxua chuckled. "It doesn't matter. With big sisters and my flames, no one can escape from these disgusting things. Big sister, why don't you let Qiuqiu come out and try? That little thing is the most sensitive to things that have developed intelligence. Perhaps it can find the whereabouts of the main vine." The little fire spirit suggested. "That's good." Lung Ruoxua nodded, and then moved Qiuqiu out of the bangle. The first thing Qiuqiu did was to get intimate with Lung Ruoxua. Then it was the first elder, Master Ning, and the others who received its greetings and enthusiasm. The cute little Qiuqiu naturally won the love of everyone. "Sister, the main vine of the man-eating vine should be hidden underground. It's hidden very deeply, so I can't sense it. However, as long as Big Sister annihilates all of its descendants, you'll naturally be able to force the man-eating vine to come up." Qiuqiu pointed at the tender vine that had just grown and suggested, "I'll do it." The little fire spirit volunteered. After it finished speaking, it continued to release large fireballs, burning away the vines that had just grown out and were still tender green in color. However, as soon as he finished burning it, new vines would immediately grow out and he would continue to burn them. This cycle repeated, and the growth of the vines became slower and slower, while the little fire spirit burned more and more vigorously. In the end, the little fire spirit was getting impatient while waiting for the vines to grow. Reading on myboxno.com, please. "Vines, oh vines, you guys are growing really slowly. I've been waiting for so long that the flowers are wilting." The little fire spirit looked at the tender vine that had just emerged and muttered to itself, "Ha ha ha. This little thing is taking advantage of us and still acting innocent. No matter how fast those vines grow, they can't keep up with the speed at which he burns them all." Master Ning couldn't help but smile. That's right. The little things around the girl are more arrogant than the other. The first elder also laughed. Hee. That's right, this is called being close to vermilion makes you red, and being close to ink makes you black. They're always with my junior sister, so it's not strange for them to learn from her. Bing Yao also said with a smile. Senior brother. May I ask if I'm Zhu or Mo? Lung Ruoxua asked with a half-smile. Of course you're vermilion red. Bing Yao quickly said, and then secretly wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, because the other person's unfriendly gaze made him feel very scared. Miss, are we just going to wait here forever? Fengde asked curiously. After the vines had been burned, the place could be considered barren. As far as the eye could see, except for some places that had just revealed some tender green, the rest of the land was dark red. Yes. If the main vine doesn't come up on its own, We can't go underground to find it. We can only use this method to force it up. Lung Ruoxua laughed evilly. The vines that the little fire spirit had burned could be considered as branches of the main vine, and also its descendants. So, as long as they kept burning, the main vine would definitely come to settle the score with them. After all, the burning of the vines would definitely cause the main vine to feel pain. Hee. Then let's just wait here, Fonda said with a smile. Then, he took out a knife from his storage ring and walked to a newly sprouted vine. He raised the knife and cut down on the vine. Suddenly, a dark red liquid with a foul smell flowed out of the two halves of the vine. The liquid quickly corroded the ground, turning the surrounding ground into a charred black. Chapter 1232. God Devouring Vine 2. Wow, these vines are really too powerful. Seeing this, Fonda was speechless. If this liquid dripped on a person's body, wouldn't the person's skin be burnt? That liquid is poisonous, be careful. Don't get it on your body. Lung Ruoxua reminded. Okay, you'll be careful. After Fonda finished speaking, he raised his knife and slashed at the other sprouts. He seemed to be addicted to it. When the others saw this, they also took out their own weapons and gave the growing sprouts a fatal blow. Lung Ruoxua looked at Fonda and the rest's actions speechlessly. She couldn't help but let her imagination run wild. Oh, were they considered to be harming young seedlings? Even though those seedlings weren't anything good. At the same time, in the depths of the earth, a huge plant was trembling with anger. Countless branches were flying everywhere, and wherever the branches went, everything collapsed into ruins. Damned human! Despicable humans! If you dare to kill my children, I will not let you off. A vicious woman's voice reverberated in the depths of the earth, and the dust around it also fell down. One could imagine how intense its anger was at this time. Although the voice belonged to a woman, it could not be considered a human, because it was just a plant. Although it had a beautiful woman's face, its body was still a plant. Hee. I've already said that you'll face retribution, and now it's finally here. A weak female voice was heard. Thank you for your concern, but you'll definitely leave before me. After the half-human half-plant woman finished speaking, she brought the object that made the sound to her eyes. The object was only the size of an adult puppy, and its originally white fur had turned dark yellow. Moreover, it was all tangled together. It could be seen that it had been trapped here for a long time. You're finally willing to kill me? The beastie that looked like a small dog said. Could it finally be free? In your dreams. I won't kill you. I'll let you stay here with me. However, I'll consider killing your child. You still don't know. Your child has been born, and he's here. The half-human, half-plant woman smiled smugly. Seeing the little beast in front of her in pain, it was particularly happy. If you dare to touch my child, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. The weak little beastie's slightly dim eyes burst out with endless hatred as it threatened fiercely. Become a ghost? You can only be my toy and puppet for the rest of your life. You won't have the chance to be a ghost, haha. I'm going to kill your child. I'm going to make you suffer. I'm going to make sure you'll never be able to free yourself. The half-human, half-plant woman laughed wildly. After she finished speaking, she even inserted one of her branches into the weak little beast's body and began to suck its blood. The weak little beast's face showed a painful expression, but it did not make a sound and closed its eyes. It knew that the hateful vampire demon would not let it die so easily. The demon had always enjoyed torturing itself, and the more it resisted, the more excited the demon would be. Therefore, it would not satisfy the demon's perverted hobby. The child. Had its child really come? Don't come here. There is a demon here. Little beastie screamed in its heart. It didn't want its child to be trapped here like it, unable to live or die. It wanted to save its child, wanted to see its child, but it didn't know if it would have the chance in this life. It was very conflicted. Reading on mybo.xnovel.com please. When the half-human, half-plant woman saw the little beastie's self-deprecating look, her interest in sucking its blood was dispelled. She threw the little beastie in a corner in disgust, then shook her branches and leaves and crawled back to the ground. Damn humans, you're asking for death. It hasn't had fresh human blood for a long time. Today is a good time for a change of taste. Moreover, these humans did not seem to be weak. At the thought of this, its heart was excited and jubilant. Its desire for blood became stronger. It even began to fantasize about the pleasure of tying these humans to its branches. It must make these humans its exclusive property. It must drink their blood and eat their flesh every day, making them suffer a fate worse than death, just like this little beast. Just thinking about it made it feel unusually happy. However, its happiness did not last long. The branch that had just reached out of the ground was destroyed again. Seeing this situation, it was furious. Countless branches continued to drill into the ground. Little Beastie, who was left in the corner, saw the half-human, half-plant woman's face changing like a palette, and it felt very satisfied. The corners of the little beastie's mouth curled up into a faint smile as it gloated. What heavy losses? It seemed that those humans weren't easy to deal with. Moreover, he clearly didn't put you in his eyes. Although it didn't know what was happening on the ground, it could guess from the evil demon's face that many of the branches that helped the evil demon hunt for food had been destroyed. Actually, this little beastie was only half right, because the half-human half-plant woman's branches were not mostly destroyed, but all of them. Otherwise, the other party would not be so angry. You shut up. How can those humans be my match? This is my territory. I will be the one laughing in the end. Those humans, including your child who came with them, will all become my food. None of them will be able to escape. The half-human half-plant woman roared in anger. Oh really? If your useless descendants could deal with those humans, would you still be so angry? I suggest you go to the surface and see for yourself. Otherwise, I'm afraid your descendants will all be dead. The little beastie provoked with evil intentions. That was indeed what it had hoped for in its heart. Don't worry, I know what to do. The half-human and half-plant woman roared angrily. Damn it, this detestable little beast actually laughed at her. It would not let go of the humans who had killed its descendants, let alone that little bastard. As for the little beast, it would not kill it because it wanted the little beast to watch how it would eat the little bastard. Chapter 1233. God Devouring Vine 3. I'm just concerned about you. After all, we've known each other for so long. The weak little beast said with a smile. Its only purpose in living was to witness the death of this demon. Now that someone finally dared to deal with this demon, it felt that it had something to look forward to, and its child. If it could see its newly born child before it died, it would die without any regrets. I don't need your concern. You should be more concerned about your bastard. I won't let it go, it's dead. The half-human half-plant woman sneered. If you dare to touch my child, I'll fight you to the death. The little beastie said fiercely. It forced itself up from the ground and glared at the huge plant. You want to fight me to the death? Ha ha ha. What a joke. The half-human half-plant woman used a branch to roll up the little beast, and brought it in front of her eyes. Her face full of disdain and ridicule. I'm not joking. We soul-gnawing beasts have a secret technique that uses our lives as the price and perishes together with our enemies. Once I use it, even if my enemies are stronger than me, they won't be able to withstand it. So don't force me. The weak little beastie warned. Ha ha. If there really was a secret technique, would you have waited until now? You can't lie to me. The half-human half-plant woman had a look of disbelief. Believe it or not, but don't force me to die with you. The weak little beastie said disapprovingly. It didn't want to die unless it was forced to because it still wanted to keep its life to see its child. However, if this demon wanted to use its child to force it, then it couldn't be blamed. Perishing together. All right. I'll be waiting for you. However, I don't have the time to deal with your business now. I'll deal with you slowly after I capture those humans. After saying that, the half-human half-plant woman threw the weak little beast back into the corner, and ignored it. Instead, she focused on dealing with the humans on the ground. It then extended countless branches out of the ground, and directed its branches to attack Wuxia and the others who were on the ground. Lung Ruashiwe and the others who were waiting for the green vines to grow were overjoyed when they saw the thick vines that suddenly emerged from the ground. This meant that the main vine that was hiding underground was no longer able to hold its breath. The little fire spirit's actions were even faster. Before the others could react, it had thrown out a few large fireballs, burning the vines to ashes. Little fire spirit, you're too bad. You didn't even give us a chance and got rid of those vines yourself. Fonda and the others couldn't help but complain. Ehe. I'm sorry. I really can't bear to see those filthy things appear in front of me, and my mission is to destroy them. The little fire spirit said righteously. Everyone couldn't help but laugh when they saw that cocky little appearance. And just as everyone was ridiculing him, countless more vines drilled out from the ground. This time it was the little fire spirit's quick hands and eyes again. After throwing out a few large fireballs, the vines all turned into ashes. Little fire spirit, can't you leave us some? Fonda said, a little speechless. He still wanted to try his own knife. However, who knew that this little thing would not give him any chance at all? Sigh. This was really infuriating. If it was any other team, they would have been running for their lives if they encountered these man-eating vines. However, they had to resort to snatching, and they would not be able to snatch them. You guys don't need to be anxious. I'm just trying to force the main vine out. When it comes out, you guys can deal with it. The little fire spirit saw everyone's complaints and quickly comforted them. Reading on Mybo XNO Velcom, please. Oh, that's true, then you should do it. Your speed is fast. Fonda and the others thought for a while. Then they walked to the side and left their seats empty. Immediately after, countless more vines emerged from the ground. Without exception, they were all burned by the little fire spirit. Just like that, the cycle repeated until night. The main vine didn't dare to show itself. However, the vines that it sent to the door all became dead souls under the little fire spirit's fire. Deep underground, the half-human, half-plant woman trembled with anger, and a large number of branches were still dancing in the air. The little beast in the corner was very happy to see this scene, and it couldn't help but secretly sigh. It seemed that the humans outside were not easy to deal with. Otherwise, this demon would not be so angry from embarrassment. Haha, that was great. Although it didn't dare to expect the humans to destroy this demon, it was already very satisfied that they could make this demon suffer. How many years had it been since it had seen a demon like this? It really missed it. Humph. Damn it, I won't let you see me as a joke. The half-human half-plant woman once again wrapped the little beast in the corner with her branches, and shook it up and down as she said fiercely, "Isn't it too late to say this now? You must be very angry right now, right? I can't even do anything to those humans you look down on." The half-human half-plant in front of it called itself the God-eating vine, which meant that it could even eat gods. However, after knowing it for so long, it had not eaten many gods so far. After all, this was not the real God world, and the God-eating vine could not leave this place with its current strength. Those humans will become my food sooner or later. Do you think I'll let them go after killing so many of my descendants? The half-human, half-plant woman said arrogantly. Don't just talk. I think you don't even dare to leave this place. You even want to kill him. The small beast's face was full of mockery and disdain. In its opinion, if the evil demon dared to go up to the surface to take care of its so-called enemies, it would have gone up a long time ago. Since the divine devouring vine hadn't made any big movements so far, it was likely that the humans would be difficult to deal with. Don't provoke me. I won't be fooled. The half-human, half-plant woman roared angrily. Do those humans make you feel fear? Are you really scared? The little beastie continued to speak in an unconcerned manner. The smile on its face became even more obvious. I'm not afraid of them. I just don't want to go up now. The man-eating vine with the human face and plant body still said arrogantly. When do you want to go up? The little beast's face was full of curiosity. Its child should be with the humans above. Although it was a little worried about its child's safety, the human who could make the God-eating vine afraid must be quite powerful. Therefore, it spared no effort to stimulate the God-eating vine. Its purpose was to make the god-eating vine reach the ground quickly. This way, it would have a chance to see its child, even just for a glance. When the time comes, it'll naturally go up and deal with them. You should worry more about yourself. The god-eating vine reminded him with a cold smile. What do I have to worry about? Other than torturing me? Can you bear to let me die too quickly? The little beastie said. Humph. At least you know your own limits. The divine devouring vine said with a gloomy face. It kept observing the movements outside through its small branches. It was waiting. It was waiting for a suitable time to exterminate these abominable humans, and that little bastard in one fell swoop. Because its greatest pleasure was to see the little beast in front of it in pain. Only when the little beast was in pain would it be happy, ha ha ha. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had already started to prepare dinner. After dinner, Lung Ruoxue took out the house and placed it on the empty ground. Then, everyone returned to their own rooms. Inside the bangle, Lung Ruoxue was currently observing the movements outside the house through the light screen. The little fire spirit and Qiuqiu were sprawled in her arms, similarly observing the situation. Sister. Plants like the man-eating vines love dark and damp places the most. So it must be hiding somewhere underground right now, peeking at our every move. I reckon that it will launch a surprise attack on us at midnight. The little fire spirit said with absolute certainty. Yes, sister, the little fire spirit is right. That disgusting and ugly thing will definitely come out from the ground when we are all sleeping. So, let's just sleep now. There's no need to care about it. Qiuqiu also suggested. Then let's go to sleep. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she agreed. These two treasures had already decided on their behalf, so they could only follow their orders. The next morning, Lung Ruoxue and the demon had just walked out of the room when they saw Fengde and the rest gathered in the courtyard. They were discussing animatedly and each of them had a look of excitement on their faces. What's wrong? Lung Ruoxue asked despite knowing the answer. Hee. Young miss, these man-eating vines surrounded us late last night, and are now showing off their might outside. Fengde said with excitement. Oh. Lung Ruoxue raised her head, and happened to see the man-eating vine's branches dancing above their house. It looked like it was about to cover the house. Fortunately, there was a thin layer of film above the house that blocked the attack of the branches. Otherwise, the man-eating vine's vines would have reached into the courtyard. Miss, what should we do now? When are you going to go out and properly deal with those man-eating vines? Fengde asked impatiently. He really wanted to try his knife. There's no rush. Let's let that man-eating vine be smug for a while. Let's have breakfast. Lung Ruoxue suggested with a chuckle. The enemy was in high spirits, so they would not go out at this time. As time passed, the man-eating vine's fighting spirit would naturally be worn down. When that time came, it would be the time for them to make their move. Furthermore, she also wanted to understand more about the man-eating vines. All right, he said. Everyone nodded, and began to prepare breakfast. After breakfast, they went about their business, but no one paid any attention to the man-eating vine. 3 days later, the man-eating vine couldn't keep its cool and moved its huge body out of the ground. Looking at the house that was already surrounded by its branches and leaves, it couldn't help but feel smug. However, the other party refused to come out of the house, and it couldn't do anything to him. This made it very unhappy. At the thought of this, the man-eating vine could not help but curse. You cowardly humans, if you have the ability, come out. What kind of skill is it to hide in there? Hurry up and come out. However, the man-eating vine's curses did not receive any response from anyone. At this time, everyone was sitting in the courtyard, observing the man-eating vine through the light screen. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.